truly to this place of living in hell. So today we're going to be talking about who needs to get the fuck out. You know, because last week we talked about those who should come to the United States, those who should be in the United
Yeah.
States. But now we're going to be talking about who needs to be deported, and on the top of my list would be Ham.
I kind of have to agree a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about a little bit before the stream started, because I was talking about, there's one person I wanted to include on my list, and that one person is PewDiePie. And not just because he's like the biggest YouTuber, but because he's going to be probably the one most targeted by Article 13 once they start enforcing it and all that sort of thing. And if people like him come to the United States, their freedom of speech was more likely to be protected. They're not going to lose everything they worked for. So, and if you've seen some of his more videos where he's standing up to attacks against him, that's kind of, he is more embodying what you'd think, okay, yeah, this is the American spirit standing up. It's like, no, you guys are in the wrong. I did nothing wrong. Not did nothing wrong, but what he did was innocent compared to a lot of these other YouTubers that are being promoted and all this stuff that's being allowed. So the fact that he was standing up against the Wall Street Journal, standing up against all these people, that's kind of the American spirit, and we want more people like that in the U.S.
I'll be right back. My dog's bitching at me.
Oh. But we were talking about before we went live is how Ham is talking about more government intervention in the internet and how things are run, and more control over public spaces, more control over Twitter, more control over Google, more control over all these various platforms, more control over Facebook. And so the problem I see with all of that is very short-sighted. And people like Ham tend to be very short-sighted. They're looking for an immediate quick fix, and they don't think that in the long term it's going to be more devastating. And that's what I see. So if we put something into legislation that makes Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube all considered public forums that have to be monitored by some government organization, we are going to get the FCC 2.0. The FCC is what they get the say on what is allowed on TV, on the radio. If they are allowed to say if they are given authority over the internet, which is what's going to happen if the government gets control and they're like, oh, you got to operate these things as public spaces, you get the FCC for the internet. That spells disaster for 90% of the internet, which mostly porn. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like disaster. Yeah, that would be disastrous for the porn industry on the internet, because that's what. Right. Right.
Yeah, I heard
About
the
poor bastards.
Yeah, it's the old joke. The internet was invented so Chuck Norris would have some place to store all of his porn.
Yeah, I heard about the spurting he did from Faith about, what was it? Tumblr banning NSFW art now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And, just really quickly, holy shit, JJ, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you ever heard of T-Series? Because they're coming very close to beating PewDiePie in sub count.
Yeah, I was on a guy's stream on, I think it was, what was it called? Twitch. He was constantly telling them to subscribe to PewDiePie.
Yeah, that's been kind of a meme going on. And actually, today PewDiePie did a stream where he's actually raising money for a charity that helps out child laborers in India. I forget the name of the actual charity, but I was like, okay, so he's kind of making a joke about the T-Series versus PewDiePie debate and all that sort of thing, and and other YouTubers and he have also pointed out what T-Series is doing. While it could be legitimate, doesn't look legitimate. But the fact that he's using the whole, keep PewDiePie number one as a means to do charitable effort, and he's done charity stuff in the past, so it's not like this is just him trying to gain subs by doing something helpful.
Yeah.
He's actually doing something helpful.
Yeah, I mean, he's using the interest in the topic at the moment to at least do something good from it, not just building up his own reputation and his own subscriber count.
Which is not scummy at all.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that's. But as far as Ham goes, he's not on my list of people that should be deported, but he's got the same mentality of like, okay, this, like I was saying, it's short-sighted mentality. He's talking about government oversight of the internet, which means some bureaucrat is going to be just saying yes and no, rather than having some group of liberal leftists at Twitter saying yes and no. You're going to have some suit in a basement in a government office saying yes and no. How does that fix the problem? It doesn't. It just moves the problem to some place where it's less likely for us to be able to actually do something about it.
In other words, Ham is being reactionary and not thinking about the long-term consequences.
Yes.
That's not a shock, though. Like,
Yeah.
here's the thing. You know, with the whole Article 13 thing, I thought it would be a disaster. Like, you know, he's calling for more government involvement with the internet, and this is what happens when you get more government involvement in the internet, and he doesn't see a fundamental issue with it. He'll be like, you know, he'll just deny it, and he'll see no actual problem with it.
Okay. So people like Ham are kind of the problem. So while I don't think Ham is quite bad enough, because, I mean, who listens to him other than us? He's an annoying pest who joins the streams to just counter everything and not listen to actual arguments, and
then we mute him in response.
Yeah, and continually falls back to his original point, despite so he'll go to follow the argument, agree with some of the counterpoints, and then go back to his original argument. I'm like, you can't do that if you've agreed to in between steps. You can't just ignore those anyway. A lot of circular logic there, but he's not a big enough player in politics or in celebrity appeal to warrant deportation.
I think just for the sanity of the people that live around him.
Okay, just for the sanity of our stream and the people who show up here and the people in the Twitter group. Okay.
It's also just probably for his own safety.
Yeah, but I used to think that there was hope that maybe if we, you know, if maybe he could be convinced, maybe there's a way to get through. But I gave up that couple months ago. It's like, oh, no, he's not savable. There's nothing you can do to convince him otherwise. Now, okay, let's go to more prominent figures that are the exact opposite of what America stands for. Biggest one right now is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and this is pretty relevant considering her most recent tweets about the $21 trillion of Pentagon spending that just disappeared, because people have been pointing out the entire defense budget since the start of the United States until now has only ever been 18 trillion. That's from the founding of the country till today. The entire budget for all defense, not just Pentagon spending, 18 trillion. How did they lose 21 trillion in 17 years when they haven't even been given 21 trillion in their entire existence?
So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the Latina George W. Bush with her Ocasio-Cortezisms.
Yeah.
She's the next dumbass in government.
Yeah, if she ever gets elected president, I think that I think America's truly fucked up.
Dude, the fact that she's in Congress, or she's going to be in Congress, that's already a testament to the stupidity. What district was you? Is that New York?
Yeah, it was in New York.
It shows you that New York is full of absolute morons if they think she's the type of person that should be running anything. Like, she was a bartender, apparently. I don't know how she got that job. This is the type of person where, like, so this is...
She'll fuck up the drinks, guys.
Yeah. Like, how can you trust her to do... Like, this is the type of person who will screw up your McDonald's order and then blame you for it.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking at the list right now. It shows that she'll be representing the 14th district. So to everyone who voted against her, Godspeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave New York ASAP because you are
Yeah.
fucked.
So the other thing about that particular tweet, she was talking about. So she was mentioning the Pentagon losing 21 trillion, which is mathematically impossible because they've never had 21 trillion to begin with, and they lost it over the course of 17 years. And she's saying the Pentagon lost 21 trillion in accounting errors. And then she's saying that that 21 trillion could fund her Medicare for All plan, which people have speculated would cost 32 trillion over 10 years. And the thing I pointed out immediately, like, wait. That's 21 trillion that has already been spent. It's not there. If the Pentagon had lost 21 trillion in accounting errors, that means they don't have the 21 trillion anymore. If they ever had it in the first place, they don't have it anymore. You can't spend money that you've already spent.
Wait, doesn't the United States only have $5 trillion in total, or however many? Like,
No, I think it's 5 trillion is the budget, the annual budget. If I'm not mistaken, that's the GDP, or no, let's see, what is the tax revenue for the U.S. Oh, is that pulling up on? Let's see. Let me make sure that I'm not streaming my suit. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just looking at
okay.
this
So
woman.
the federal budget is 3.42 trillion, which that's the federal budget for fiscal year 2019. Now, the 32 trillion estimated Medicare for All budget over the course of 10 years would be 3.2 trillion per year, meaning that she wants to double the federal budget just to pay for Medicare for All. Like 3.42 is the current budget. She wants to increase it by an additional 3.2 trillion per year over the next 10 years. And the way she's going to fund that is by spending money that the Pentagon apparently already spent and didn't track properly.
Yeah.
That's the level
yeah.
of incompetence it's like, wait a minute. Your solution for funding this extra 3.2 trillion is to spend money that's already been spent. That's your plan.
Red Feather says it perfectly.
We had a dumbass, everybody.
Red Feather in the chat says it perfectly.
That'd be your chat because you gotta. So I'm not. I don't see your chat. So if you would. Red Feather. What did Red Feather say?
That this woman supposedly has a degree in economics.
Yeah, that's the scary part. She's got a degree in economics, was a bartender based on that, and I'm like, I don't know how that her employer stayed in business with her.
Maybe she was surprisingly competent, it's just something happened in between that time.
I mean, possibly that she was a competent bartender, but she would, I can't imagine her being able to budget her own financial, she would constantly be coming in and asking for money because she's trying to spend money that's already been spent. That's her if she was doing her own personal budget, she'd be like, oh, well, I mean, I spent $21 yesterday. I had $21 in my pocket yesterday, and I don't know where it went because I didn't keep the receipts. So I'm going to go out and buy $40 worth of groceries today with that money. That's essentially what she's kind of what that tweet and what she's been saying recently. That's kind of what she's acting like you can do. You can spend $20 and not keep track of where that $20 spent, and then go and spend $20 plus an extra $20 that you don't have in your pockets.
It's just a mystery in the universe that we'll probably never figure out.
Yeah, if she was a bartender, I don't know how she was paying bills and coming into work on time, because she would constantly be out of money, constantly not having it. She'd be constantly, short every month or whatever when she's trying to. Because, I mean, bartenders, I don't know, I mean, that kind of depends on the establishment, right?
Yeah.
So the way, I mean, from my experience when working in some kind of an industry like that, you take money from the people buying drinks or whatever, and you keep that on yourself. And at the end of the night, you've got the receipts from your customers and all that sort of thing, and at the end of the night, you have to pay the business owner according to the amount of money the customers spend, and anything else on top of that you get to keep because that's your tips, right? But you have to pay the managers, like, okay, this is how many customer orders I fulfilled. They gave me this much money, so I owe you. So if they ended up giving you $320 and you know the bill was $340, well, guess what? You have to pay that manager $40 out of your pocket because you didn't collect enough money to cover the drinks that you were serving. So, and I've had nights when one of my experiences was delivering pizza with Papa John's, and I've had nights where even after collecting all my tip money and all the checks and all that sort of thing, when I got to the register and was closing out for the night, I didn't have enough money to cover the bill from my tip money, so I had to take money out of my own wallet and pay the difference. Now, I didn't lose money overall the night because you still get paid. I was still getting paid per hour, and so I got a check for my time, but I still lost more money than I should have made because either somebody gave me a 10 and they gave me a 10 instead of a 20, or they something along those lines, or maybe a 20 fell out of my pocket during the day. I don't know, but I ended up being short, which means I had to take money out of my wallet and give it to the manager at the end of the day. And if she's this bad with money when she's talking about it on Twitter, that had to have been a common occurrence when she was a bartender. Oh, yeah, I don't have enough money, so I'm going to pay you out of my pocket. I don't have enough money, I'm going to pay. Like, I can't imagine her making money in that profession because you have to keep track of the money coming in. And if she's so bad at math that she can't properly keep track of, hey, this customer owes me $15. Oh, well, they only gave me $5. That's the same thing, right? 5 is more than 15. I mean, that's the level of incompetence that I see from everything she's talked about with just how the government works in general, and also when it comes to keeping track of a budget.
She's definitely not Asian, that's for sure.
Yeah, she does not have the math blood. She's got the anti-math blood. Well, and the other things is a stupid thing she was saying. She's like, oh yeah, the 3 chambers of Congress being the Senate, the House, and the presidency. Like, people have been railroading her over that because that's like, okay. And rightfully so, because that's just, like, 3rd graders have a better understanding of how the government works than someone who is elected to be in one of the houses of Congress, or one of the, I guess, the chambers of Congress. I guess that's a better way of saying it, because there's a House and there's a Senate.
Yeah.
Technically, they're both houses of Congress, but when you say the House, you're referring to the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so someone who's elected to be a part of the government has less of an understanding than someone in 3rd grade. Than most people in 3rd grade.
Yeah, when I was in the 3rd grade, like even before that, we were taught, there's 3 branches of government. The judiciary, the Congress, and the executive branch, and then for everything else, there's the 2 houses of Congress is the House and Senate, and it's like
and they.
But I was like when we learned that she's like,
and the funny thing is, she corrected her statement so that it would say the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. Like, she was saying something stupid before, and she caught herself and was like, "Oh no, that's not right. This is the correction." And you're like, your correction is still bad. It's still wrong.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
We won a pretty lopsided victory. Turns out a lot of people actually voted for Joe Crowley despite the fact she defeated him in the primary. I would have done so too.
Yeah, okay. The other funny thing about her, I don't know, she was doing some kind of live streaming something or other, and she was eating noodles with a coffee stirrer, like, as her utensil.
Oh, God.
Oh, I know, that's so
How are you that stupid?
No, well, I don't know if it was she's that stupid or if she thinks that that's what poor people do. Because she supposedly has no money to afford rent at the moment, and so it seemed like it was kind of like a publicity stunt sort of thing. Like, oh, look how poor and unfortunate Ocasio-Cortez is because she's living off of macaroni and cheese and she can't even afford silverware. That's the impression I got out of it. Is she's trying to pass herself off as a poor person. Oh, she can't even afford utensils. And I'm like, plasticware, you can get a packet of plasticware for $1, like 50 count. Any Dollar Tree, any Dollar General, any place like that, you can get plasticware for $1.
Or she's stupid enough to have forgotten to do dishes that day.
Yeah, possibly, and she's like, oh well, I'll just use a coffee stirrer because I didn't plan on using utensils to eat hot food.
How patriarchal, JJ? You suggest?
Depending on the type of establishment she's in, even if she's in a motel, like most hotels have continental breakfasts. Most hotels that I've been to, they have like if you forgot things, right? They have complimentary toothbrushes, deodorant, sometimes like little cheapy razors and stuff like that. They will bring them up to your room. I've had hotel rooms have sets of silverware because depending on what type of hotel you go to or motel you go to, even the cheapy ones like Motel 8 and stuff like and Super 8 and stuff like that have these complimentary stuff. They have continental breakfasts, and part of that is, hey, they got a bunch of plasticware and a bunch of silverware. So I've had like, oh, hey, do you guys happen to have silverware and plasticware? And they bring it up because they have them on site. I mean, it's possible that she couldn't, like, she was in her hotel room and, didn't think to get them beforehand. But the whole thing seems like I'm going to try to pass myself off as someone poor and unfortunate. Because right now, because she is going to Congress, she's got people that are giving her money. Like, how did she finance her campaign if she's so dirt poor? No, people are throwing money at her because they want her in politics.
Well, this is the same state that Hawk lives in, so
yeah,
can't be that surprised.
Yeah, that people are throwing money at her, and at the very worst case scenario, she could easily get a loan, even a payday loan and all that sort of thing. Be like, oh, hey, you're going to get $174,000 a year for the next 6 years? Yeah, we will definitely do a signature loan, and we'll charge you 20% or whatever. But who cares? They're going to make their money back.
Mm-hmm.
Like she could easily get a loan from pretty much any bank. I mean, she probably wouldn't have to go to a payday loan or anything like that. She could probably just go to a regular bank and they'd be like, all right, sign us up. Guaranteed money. Because, like, because she's got a guaranteed salary for the next 6 years. That is a safe bet for any bank. Guaranteed because the worst case scenario is if she doesn't pay them, they can garnish her wages from the government. That's because they know who's paying her bills, and they can be like, oh yeah, by the way, Ocasio owes us this money. She hasn't paid her bill. All right, government's going to take that out of her Senate paycheck.
Yeah.
The bank has nothing to lose here.
Her house paycheck, yeah. I mean, although she'll probably be in there long enough to be,
Oh, sorry, yeah. Did I say Senate? Yeah. I meant the House. Yeah, she's a House of Representatives. Yeah.
Yeah, she runs for the Senate. I'll press F right now to pay respects to New York in the live chat.
Yeah, sorry. House of Representatives, my mistake there. That's At
least you learn. Oh, at least you understand your mistake better than she ever could with the 3 branches of Congress, guys.
Yeah, well, she said the 3 chambers of government, and I'm like, you're missing the judicial completely.
Yeah. Like when it comes to those, like, people that should not.
Oh wait, no. Actually, her comment was the 3 chambers of government: the presidency, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So she didn't even say the executive; she said the president, as if the president was his own division by himself. No,
it's the presidency.
He's the head of the executive, but the executive is a pretty large branch. Yeah. I'm like,
there's a ton of people that the president has to work with. It's like, oh,
yeah, because that includes that includes all of the DoD, that includes all of your law enforcement agencies, the Homeland Security, the Pentagon. So that includes all of these things that, well, I guess Pentagon would technically be under DoD, but that includes also the ambassadors. So the executive has a lot of different divisions within it. But just to say the presidency and then the Senate and Congress and House of Representatives, you're like, okay, the House of Representatives, that's it. There's no subdivision of the House of Representatives. I mean, there's committees within it and all that sort of thing, but the House of Representatives doesn't have underlying organizations. That's it. It's all encapsulated within the House of Representatives. The Senate, it's all encapsulated within the Senate. There's people working for the Senate and all that sort of thing, but they're all covered under the Senate. When you say the presidency, that only includes the presidential cabinet. That doesn't include everybody else outside that's in the executive. The presidency is within the executive branch. Just like the legislative includes the Senate and the House of Representatives, it doesn't include any other organizations. The executive includes the presidency, Department of Defense, and then the Justice Department. Those, and possibly a couple others. And so the ambassadors, what would that be under? Because that's under something. Because that's not technically directly under the president. He gets to appoint ambassadors, and they are representatives of him. But that's not a part of the That's not a part of the presidential cabinet. That's something separate, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if that's under a separate organization or. Yeah, so here I am saying, Ocasio-Cortez doesn't understand government. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, but the executive involves more than just the presidency. And yeah, making a comparison as if the president and the Senate are equal in capacity doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, if she's talking about the highest of each branch, I guess that makes sense, but.
Yeah.
And anyway. So, in addition to being an absolute moron, Ocasio-Cortez advocates policies that are absolutely against America's best interests. Like, the exact opposite. You're like, okay, what can we do that would make America better? Okay, let's do the opposite of that. That is everything Ocasio-Cortez has platformed in favor of. Is everything that would be the opposite of what America needs to do.
Yeah, she wants Medicare for all, a job guarantee, tuition-free universities and public schools. Yep. She wants single-payer health care. She wants, she's for abolishing ICE, which I don't entirely disagree with, but I think that, I would like to hear some more specifics as to how we're going to pull that off.
But okay, so ICE is responsible for immigration control, right? That's immigration control. What's the E stand for? Executive?
Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Oh, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, immigration control. No, it's Immigrations and Customs. Yeah. They are responsible for monitoring and making sure that people coming into the United States are ones that we approve of and all that sort of thing. If we abolish ICE, some organization is going to need to facilitate that. I don't know what the good of abolishing ICE would do. Because we still need to make sure that people coming into this country are those that we approve of. Otherwise, you're going to have, Allahu Akbar, with bombs strapped to them, just walking across the border. Hey, nice to meet you. Where can I find a nice group of people to go blow up? That's...
When you're a Muslim and your son's named Allahu Akbar in public and you can't find him. But, okay, with
well, Allahu's not really a name.
I know, but that'd be funny if your son was literally, if you had a son literally named that, and you can't yell for him.
Yeah,
but you try to find.
Yeah, but well, at least it's not. Well, at least it's not Muhammad, because I heard a story recently. So this is a legitimate news story of. There was two Jewish people. They were, I guess they were Orthodox Jews, because this individual was driving past them. Identified that they were Jews, flipped his car around in a U-turn and started charging his car at them, trying to run them over. And thankfully did not run them over, but the guy behind this, his name is Muhammad. And he was yelling anti-Jewish sentiments at them. And lo and behold, is a Muslim. So I don't know what the outcome of that situation, whether they actually arrested him or found him or anything. But yeah, Muhammad and the people who were being trying to be run over identified that he did have a Quran on his dashboard. And it's just kind of like, like if you're looking for like the most stereotypical embodiment of, you're like, dude, that sounds like that should be a joke out of The Onion, but this is a real life thing that happened. Like, it's so over the top. You're like, dude, okay, the guy's name's Mohammed. He's got a Quran on his dashboard. He hates Jews so much, he drives past some of them, has to flip his car around and try to run them over repeatedly. How is this reality? Like, I guess we should look
Sometimes
that up.
reality is weirder than made-up stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes The Onion can't compete with how fucking batshit insane this is. But yeah, when it comes to people that should get out of the United States, there's AOC, Nancy Pelosi, as I cannot stand her.
Ocasio-Cortez, of course.
Ocasio-Cortez and Nancy Pelosi. Trying to think of like who are some of the most unpopular people in the United States? Like, you know, those type of people should automatically GTFO.
Yeah, and so while there's people like people who are terrorist organizations and all this sort of thing, they don't belong here. We need to get rid of them, deport them if at all possible, and also think this stream is mostly dedicated to people who are legitimately here who shouldn't be because they're undermining everything we stand for. And you mentioned Nancy Pelosi is another. Oh, if you talk about, like, I understand there are people who've made stupid statements. I mean, everybody's made stupid statements. Everybody has said things without thinking them through. But these are the types of people who do this constantly, and it's not just a stupid misstatement. Like, George Bush was famous for misstatements. Like,
Red Feather said Maxine Waters.
Yeah. So George Bush, the media was hounding him on things he said that were stupid in their delivery, but he was on, like, the idea, had he said it correctly, you're like, okay, he's at least on the right track. He at least, like, well, one of the more famous one was like, okay, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, well, I can't be fooled again. Like, he was using that quote, because it's where the actual quote is fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, right? That's the actual quote.
Yeah.
In the context of what he was talking about, it made perfect sense. The fact that he forgot the quote midway and then was trying to, and then made it something completely stupid, that's why he was, that's the media. But he's using at least that, he was trying to use that phrase appropriately. Ocasio-Cortez has a tendency of using these phrases like, wait, how would you think that was, those two ideas don't go together? How are you doing that? And Nancy Pelosi has the same kind of thing. It's like, it's not just she says things that are stupid, as in like a mistake or, oh, well, that's like a gaffe or something. No, it's like those two ideas don't work together. Though, even the premise of what you're trying to say is absolutely retarded. To say that is an insult to people who are actually mentally handicapped. Like, people who are mentally handicapped are like, dude, that's retarded.
Even they're saying that's retarded.
Yeah, even somebody who has a mental handicap can be like, what's wrong with you?
Like, even I wouldn't say something that stupid.
Yeah. No, and again, I'm not oh man, I guess I gotta say, like, I don't want that to be taken as an insult to people with mental handicaps, but that's, whatever. People know that if you're trying to do an impression of somebody who has that, that's what you do, because that's, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we've
got a full list there. Let's see. Let's make that, okay. Alright, this is you got a good list going there, Red Feather. Cory Booker, yes. That guy, I don't know what the, like, this is my Spartacus moment. No, okay, if you understand what was going on there, he was talking about the public needs to know this information, and he said he was trying to make the case that the committee had told him not to release that information, and he's going to release that information anyway. That's not the case. Grassley was telling him on this as he was making the statement, no, you could go ahead. We've already said you can release this information. We've already cleared it. And he's like, oh, this is my Spartacus moment. I'm going to release this information to the public. And Grassley's like, is anybody else listening to this? We okayed the release of this information already. You're not defying anybody. You're not... What are you resisting? We gave you permission earlier today to release this information, and now you're saying, I'm going to release this information, and you don't want me to. What? I mean, maybe yesterday, before it had been cleared, but as of today, as of the time where you're actually going to release it, and you're making a statement about it, it's cleared for release. There's no objection. You're not going to get arrested. There's nobody gives two shits about you, Cory Booker. Do it all. Release it because we've already said you can. Well, and the other thing,
Joy Behar needs to get at it as well.
Oh yeah, she's already said that she is going to quit The View because of Meghan McCain, and everybody's like, "Bye, you will not be missed."
Joy Behar.
Yeah, Behar or Bahar or however. Okay, yeah, Kamala Harris, same thing. I mean, so many times it's not just saying something that is a mistake or was poorly worded or something like that. It's something that at its principle and at its core is absolutely wrong or idiotic.
She also called Christians mentally ill. Joy Behar did.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, yeah. Oh, sorry.
People forgave her.
Something about the most recent investigation where was it? What's Trump's lawyer?
Oh yeah, with Rosie O'Donnell.
No. Wait, no, Rosie O'Donnell. No, this is something recent.
No. Oh.
Trump's lawyer was saying something about lying under oath, and then because basically the lawyer had said previously that the deals with Russia had been concluded and had been they had been stopped. Like all negotiations had been stopped prior to the actual inauguration of Trump. And then now he's claiming, oh, by the way, that was a lie because negotiations continued after he was president. And he's, and coming out with that and saying, oh yeah, that was a lie. Behar is making claims that, oh, well now Donald Trump should resign based on that. And today, based on this, Trump should resign. Okay, the first thing, I mean, this has been kind of beat to death ad nauseum on, if you've been following Shapiro or a bunch of these other commentators when they're talking about this, everybody has come out with the same thing of like, yeah, even if this was true and negotiations on this deal in Russia, so this was not a deal as far as a political deal, this was a hotel chain that he was planning on starting in Russia, or several hotel locations he was planning on opening up in Russia. And those negotiations fell through and it was scrapped. Even if negotiations had continued after his inauguration, nothing illegal is done. There's nothing being done that is wrong at that point. Even if Trump's lawyer, I forget his name, maybe
wasn't it the mayor of New York? I thought was one of his lawyers.
Rudy Giuliani. The guy, the recent one. Let's see. Let me get the name. Just keep wanting to say Avenatti, but that's not right. Michael Cohen. So Michael Cohen is the guy who is saying that he lied previously. So he committed perjury by lying and saying negotiations had stopped. And then now he's saying, oh, well, that was a lie because negotiations had continued and I knew that. And that's what they're saying is this huge smoking gun against Trump. And it's like, even if negotiations had continued, that's not illegal for a president to continue their business arrangements after being president.
What about the emoluments clause? Isn't that a commonly cited issue by...
Well, that's commonly cited because people don't understand what that's talking about. So this is something. I was just listening to a podcast on Tom Woods where one of the guys was talking about this and how this is a problem. So basically, this is looking at the wording of the law as it is today, and trying to make legislation based on, or trying to make rulings based on. Well, the law says this, and this is the exact verbiage used currently, and trying to interpret the law based on that. And that's what people are doing when they're talking about that particular. Was it article? It's not an amendment. It's an article, right? An article of the Constitution.
I believe it is. There's the emolument.
Yeah, the emolument. Yeah, they're talking about. Oh, well, the way it's worded right now, we have to interpret it this way. And I'm like, well, the way it's worded right now is not the intent of the people who drafted it. And the intent of the people who drafted it, you can tell by reading what they were writing about it, by reading what they were discussing on the floor of Congress when they're talking about. Well, actually, it wouldn't be the floor of Congress at that time because this is the adoption of the Constitution. But so this was the. Well, actually, it was the Continental Congress, right? Yeah, so it's still Congress, right? You know, when the Continental Congress came together to draft the Constitution, when they're talking about these different articles, all of that is documented. We have what they were talking about, why they were discussing, and why they settled on what should be included in the Constitution and why it was worded in such a way. The people who are looking at this and saying, oh, well, that means you can't receive any money from a foreign country. What? That's completely not what that is talking about. That is talking about being in a political position for another country. If you are an ambassador for another country and you are in the U.S., you cannot hold political office. If you owe allegiance to another country, you cannot hold these political offices. If you are being paid for political services, you cannot. That's a violation. It does not mean, oh, if you have a convenience store in Russia and somebody buys a $1 candy bar from you, oh, you are in violations of this law and you can't be president. What? That's not what that is talking about. Setting up a hotel in Russia and having your business earn money from people in Russia, paying money to that business, is not you receiving political funds from another government. And if you look at the actual, what they're talking about when they adopted this, they're talking about political positions, political figures from other countries trying to influence the U.S.'s political system. They're saying, no, you cannot do that. If you are working directly for another government, you cannot participate in our politics. Because if you do, you're going to make decisions and you're going to do things in our country and in our political system that benefits your country of allegiance, not the U.S. That's what they're trying to sever. They're trying to make that clear, that distinction between if your allegiances are to another country, you shouldn't be running our country. You shouldn't be in a political position in our country where you can make a decision like that. What they're trying to claim about that particular provision is that if you earn any money in any other country other than the U.S., you are in violation of that. That is absolutely insanity. Like, that. So, if a German bank that actually opposes the German government, or like, so maybe not a bank. So if there's a business, well, I guess maybe we should do Russia, because Russia's the big collusion or whatever. So if there was a Russian business that absolutely hated the Russian government and was actually funding political opposition to the current Russian government, and Donald Trump set up a hotel in Russia, and this other business was like, oh, hey, we like Trump and we hate Putin. If they gave $1 to Trump's hotel business, these people would be like, oh, that's Russian collusion, that's Russian collusion. And you're like, how? Like, this... In what world is that Russian collusion? If the people who would be paying money at his hotels would not be government officials, and they would not be paying him money in exchange for political favors. They would be paying him money in exchange to stay at his hotel or to purchase things that are in the gift shop or purchase whatever at the hotel. they're not paying him money in his hotel in order to get political favors from the United States. The idea that that is even remotely possible is absolutely insanity. And I talked about this with Ham when we were talking about this particular, because he was like, oh yeah, they were going to set up hotels in Russia, and the plans and all the paperwork had been done for this 2 years prior to his announcement that he was even going to run for president. So this is the 4D chess Trump is going to, 2 years before even announcing his plan to become president, start a business deal in Russia and say, hey, if you give me these hotels in Russia, in 2 years I'm going to announce my run for presidency. I'm going to run for president. And then once I'm in there, I'm going to give you guys trade deals. What?
How's it going, guys?
Oh, hey, Sinister.
How's it going?
In what world would that be like if you're Russia and you're like, let's give you millions of dollars in an industry, and if you get these hotels, we can't take them away easily, and you're gonna fight us tooth and nail. Let's give you millions of dollars on the off chance that 3 years from now you become president and you give us some kind of good deal politically.
Yeah.
That's the mentality that leftists are claiming is going on right now as far as the Russian-Trump collusion.
No, that's not their mentality. They're crappy lawyers. They're trying to twist words around. It's very obvious that that article or clause meant that you're not allowed to accept foreign bribes. Bribes would be an equivalent word.
Yeah.
Business is not a bribe if it's standard business. Additionally, Trump signed over all his business to his son.
Yeah.
His two sons now manage Trump Industries and his hotels. And I'll have to verify, but I've also heard reports that any income from foreign emissaries actually gets paid to the U.S. Treasury. They cut a check every year. So they go actually above and beyond just to make sure that they're not having any sort of foreign influence.
Mm-hmm.
They have actually taken extra steps to make sure so that even if there's foreign emissaries staying at his hotel, they're not accepting that money.
Oh, yeah, so they don't even need to do that. But yeah, they're
Nope.
going one step further. Be like, dude, this is
In 2017, they cut a check for about $150,000 because that's what they made off of foreign emissaries.
yeah. By law, they're not required to do that. But yeah, that's that's the hey, we're not even, we don't, we're they're trying to. They're like, dude, we're not even close to violating this. It's
Yeah,
not
they
it's
shouldn't
not that
have
they're
to
riding the
first-
line. It's that they like, hey, if that's the line, I'm gonna take 50 steps back.
What they're doing is just trying to change the verbiage, or not even change the verbiage, but change the definition of the word. Just like racism now is racism plus power, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. Racism is just racism.
Yeah, and you can be
They're trying to
racism
change
for
that
saying
definition.
something
They're trying to
against
change the
a religion.
definition of that we live in a democracy. They don't understand that this is actually a republic.
Mm-hmm.
They're changing the definition of socialism. That's how we can have democratic socialists now, even though that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, it doesn't.
So they're just playing word games, hoping that the public is too stupid to understand. But according to their logic, if you cannot have any sort of financial interaction or everything is now considered a gift, even standard business, Trump could not go to another foreign country and enjoy an expensive dinner. That would fall in the same line, even though everybody does that because
Yeah.
that's kind of etiquette.
Yeah, you go to there and they give you a meal or whatever, and then, but usually it's because that's reciprocated, right? So they get invited to some other country and are treated to a nice dinner, and then when the other leaders come to the U.S., they get treated to a nice dinner. It's kind of, that's why it's not considered technically a bribe. It's like, well, it's an exchange, a dinner for a dinner, and a meeting in the U.S. for a meeting
I'm
there.
talking about
But-
that would be a logical, and that's
Yeah.
that's what actually logically makes sense. I'm saying
Yeah.
from the Democrat or leftist point of view,
Oh, yeah.
they've already twisted that because that's what business is, a fair exchange.
Yeah.
You reciprocated your stay at a hotel by paying for it.
Yeah. And so according to them, yeah, if he went to some other country and was provided a nice lavish dinner, they'd be like, "Oh, that's collusion."
Yeah.
Oh,
So
and-
under their definition, anything with foreign emissaries or foreign ambassadors or from a foreign country, in exchange of anything of value, even though it's not a gift, it's a business transaction, it's still an exchange. Therefore, to them, it falls under this clause, which it doesn't.
Yeah, and I think it was I don't know who, I was watching so many videos lately. I think it was Mark Dice who was talking about this, possibly it was Beauty and the Beta when they were talking about. So there's a video clip where a guy is on CNN talking about this, and he is saying, while the investigation is looking for collusion between the Trump campaign and elections, and the whole, they're looking for proof that Russia interfered with our election process. And the guy said, well, while this isn't proof of that, this is proof that Trump was colluding with Russia on business matters. And I'm like, they are, yeah, and whoever I was talking about was like pointing out, it's like, yeah, they twisted this so much that even though the investigation is specifically looking for collusion that would be illegal in nature, and now they're like saying, hey, look, this is proof that they work together. That's all that we're looking for. We were looking for proof that they're working together. And I'm like, no, you were looking for evidence that they were working together to undermine our political system. The fact that you found proof that they were working together, that's... And a lot of people on Twitter were like, that's like, yeah, 2 years into the investigation, the FBI has found out that Trump does indeed own hotels in other countries. And I'm like, I guess he's been colluding with other countries this whole time. Like, okay, that's what happens when you own a business. You have to work with the people in those countries that you're putting hotels in. If you weren't working with them and you were just magically springing up hotels overnight without any kind of cooperation, yet I don't know how they expect that to be possible, but they're trying to say, oh, this is proof of collusion. Proof of collusion that he was trying to build hotels in Russia. Not proof of collusion that he was doing anything illegal or to undermine our system. But that's the narrative they're trying to spin. It's like, as long as we can prove collusion, then they can keep saying collusion as if that means something inherently nefarious. All right. So, okay, we started this talking about people that don't belong here because they're actually people that actually undermine our system, not because of 6 degrees of separation somehow. As long as we can associate these people together, that means they're doing something wrong. People have actively stated things and explicitly worked against the best interests of the U.S. So Nancy Pelosi, despite her various stupid statements, and she has said a lot of stupid things that are not just stupid because they're misstatements, but stupid in principle and stupid in... I mean, anybody looking at it would be like, how could you possibly have come to that conclusion when looking at this? Those sorts of things. But her biggest one is we have to pass it so that way we can find out what's in it. In reference to the Affordable Health Care Act.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That is the dumbest thing one could ever say.
It's like saying that we need to try socialism just to see if it works despite it not working multiple times.
Yeah. It's like, well, I don't know if this is the answer, but let's try it. Let's try it to see if it actually includes murder. What?
It's like
who reads contracts before signing them? You sign it first, and then you just find out later through various lawyers and legal interactions.
Yeah, like, oh, wait, did I really sign away my firstborn son? Well, yeah, apparently. Oh, okay, well, I didn't know that until I signed it.
It's like putting your finger under a lighter to see what will happen. It's like that to me says a lot about the state of humanity if people get to that point of stupidity.
Yeah, it's like, well, swimming with sharks while I have an open sore, it might kill me. I hear your argument that it might kill me, but let's find out. I gotta try it before I know whether it will kill me or not.
So what I'm thinking is actually happening here is not that they're necessarily that dumb, but it's when somebody gets caught in a dumb lie and keeps trying to prove that it's not a lie, their excuses get worse and worse to where it's obviously, it's just beyond being realistic. So I think the Democrats and far left do have a specific agenda. It's just ridiculous. It's stuff your average person
They're
would
retarded.
say no to. So the more they try and spin it and twist it, we get all these dumb phrases. We get all of these dumb things that they're saying. But in reality, they do have I would say
Oh,
almost
yeah.
a nefarious plan.
Yeah, I mean, it is a mistake to think that they are purely incompetent or purely stupid, because someone who is stupid and incompetent, right? It's the old phrase: "A broken clock is right twice a day." Someone who is stupid or incompetent will get things right on accident. It takes if you can try this out on take any multiple choice question. If you are just randomly answering questions without thinking about them and you don't know the answer and you're just guessing at everything, you will at least get some of the answers right. Actually, usually it's about 40% of the questions you can guess at and get, and on any multiple choice test. Actually, if you just answer C for all of the tests, I think they've shown that you can get a 55% just answering C, which is why it's often stated if you don't know the answer, just answer C. Because more than likely C, I mean, you got a 1 in 4 chance, but for some reason C ends up being right more often than not. I don't know why. I mean, if you're talking about the, four answer multiple choice questions, that's typically how that works out. And I think even with the 5 answers, C anyway. The point
That's
is,
because option D or the last one is very oftentimes all the above.
Yeah.
So that's less likely than a specific answer.
Yeah. But anyway, you're not going to get a 0%. In order to get a 0%, you have to know all the answers and give the wrong answer on purpose. In order to absolutely get no points on a multiple choice question test, you have to know the answer and actively answer incorrectly. You have to know it's A and then mark B, and then know it's D and then mark A. Or I guess any other answer other than D. You cannot randomly guess or just be stupid and just like, oh, derp, derp. You have to know the wrong answers to answer them all that incorrectly. Like, even people who fail tests often fail, but they get like 40s and 50s and sometimes 60s just randomly doing things, or just being, like, oh, I don't know the answer, so I'm going to write it. For the Democrats to be so wrong on everything, it has to be intentional, and it shows some degree of, okay, we know what we want to do, and this is how we do it, right? This is because in order to take a test and get every answer wrong, you have to know the answer and then know which answer will be the most incorrect. Because some tests are weighted, right? I don't know if you've ever taken those, where there is one correct answer, but then you get partial credit for a partial answer. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, some tests are weighted like that, but as far as what the Democrats are doing, because their vitriol and their ideology is in such a way, in order to always be wrong on everything, like it seems, I mean, I could be wrong, I could be the one in wrong, but from everything that I can see, is every single issue that they are pushing forward, they have the incorrect position on. And the only way, and they're actually being successful in whatever, and getting people to buy into theirs and all that, buy into their message and all that sort of thing, that proves to me a level of competency pointed to a detrimental outcome, as opposed to incompetency and stupidity. So while I do think Ocasio-Cortez is actually a moron, the fact that she has been slightly successful is like, well, that shows some degree of competency at least, right?
She's coached.
Yeah.
She's just the pretty face to go in front and be a woman, ethnic minority, whatever. She's just coached.
Pretty face is pretty. I wouldn't go that far.
Well, when she doesn't open her eyes or her mouth, if she just has a normal look,
yeah, okay. If she doesn't open her eyes or mouth, okay.
So, I mean, what would you rather be dealing with, Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah,
or
okay. I will agree. Her face is pretty symmetrical when you don't include horse face and crazy eyes. That throws off the whole.
Yeah, I didn't say she was hot or anything. I'm just saying she's a young lady.
Yeah, and she. Yeah, that's the reason they pushed her forward. It's just like, oh, she's a minority. Her last name's Cortez, woman and a socialist. Yeah, she's checking off all the boxes of people we want to put in charge. And then, yeah, it's very. And if you've been following her Twitter feed after she became elected, there is a pretty, and James Wood pointed this out, that there's a pretty, well, aside from her statement about the Justice Department or the Pentagon spending, aside from that, her tweets over the past few days have been pretty reserved. They've been more coherent than, like, if you look at her timeline, it's like, wow, that is a hot take, that's a hot take, that's a hot take, and then, something changed here, and now it's like, instead of it being 10%, okay, that's actually at least a coherent thought, it's wrong, but it's a coherent thought, and then 90%, wow, where did that come from? And now it's kind of flipped to the other way around, where it's like, okay, 90% of that, it's like, okay, that's something, it's wrong, but at least that makes sense as far as your political ideology, and at least you're stating it coherently, and you're actually, it, on the surface, it's valid logic or whatever. You're at least trying to be rational about this. And then she's got 10% of that irrational. Where did that come from? So that transition has been over the past few days, and James Woods has been talking about having handlers on her Twitter account and stuff like that.
Twiddler.
Twiddler?
Well, that also
Twiddler.
would point
It's
out
Twitter,
she
Tumblr.
got elected being an idiot then.
Yeah.
So even now she's becoming slightly more valid, or at least logical, even though her logic is still...
No, it's not her. It's whoever's running her account.
Correct, but
Yeah.
Overall, the message she's pushing out is starting to make at least have a little more coherency to it, not necessarily being right. She got elected off being a total idiot.
Yeah.
I mean,
She was elected before.
Yeah,
you're
'cause if
representing
you
constituents pretty well.
if you saw her interviews or her debates, you're like, okay, this how is this person even running? Like, this is she.
As far as she even knows how to run.
Yeah,
run for office.
all over the place. Never. I mean, her thoughts are bouncing around like a pinball. As far as and it's just jumping around. And like, okay, that did not answer the question whatsoever, and also that doesn't make any sense. I mean, just kind of all over the place, and it makes me wonder why anybody would vote for her other than, I guess, the last name. And she's a Democrat. She's got a D by her name.
Because she had a strong base of all the unemployed people working multiple jobs.
Yeah. Unemployment is gone down because people are working 2 jobs. What?
Oh my.
All right. Okay, so we talked about Nancy Pelosi, Ocasio-Cortez, Booker, Kamala Harris. Well, I mean, I haven't gone too specifically on what they've done that is stupid, but Booker is like a pure emotion. That is a sad state. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly or apparently, I guess, according, he sleeps with women, but that is like out of all the things he's done, it's like, wait a minute, he sleeps with women? That's like the most shocking thing Cory Booker has ever done. Or at least to me, I was like,
I thought he was gay.
Would go.
Yeah, I'm like, all signs point to him not sleeping with women. So I mean, he's emotionally unstable and is a radical. That's. I mean, maybe he's closeted. I don't know.
Being running for the POTUS for 2020, he's just looking out for self. So that's why he's trying to appeal emotionally, kind of way overboard, overacting on everything.
Yeah.
Why I said that stupid Spartacus thing. He really has no intention of doing anything other than just trying to be in the running.
Yeah.
For POTUS.
So it might be theatrics to get attention because he's planning on running, and that's hey, if like that old phrase, right?
Spartacus moment phrase he planned out ahead of time, except for he got called out to look like an idiot. But since he already planned it, he just went ahead with it.
Yeah.
Because that was his script for that day.
Yeah. So
and I don't know why he thought of that. Spartacus was for slavery, not anything they were even discussing.
well, yeah, and yeah.
Even if he was going
the
for
other
the Spartacus phrase, that was people covering up to protect someone who they thought was bringing justice. So if somebody else had leaked, kind of like a WikiLeaks thing, had leaked that information out ahead of time, and then he stood up and covered for him, then he can say that's an I am Spartacus moment.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He completely missed the point of that at all.
And the other
he's
thing,
just an actor, a bad actor.
Yeah. Well, the other
Daytime
part
soap
of that
actor.
is even after the I Am Spartacus thing, they killed all of them. They still
Yep.
they killed and crucified all of them. So it's like didn't really do much, did it? I mean, it's kind of like I'm standing up for what is right, and we're all taking, we're all, if you're gonna kill one of us, you're gonna kill all of us, sort of thing. And well, they did kill all of them, but that's
So they were breaking the law. So I mean, if he's viewing the U.S. as Romans, and that means that fine with all of the illegal activity going on, and that screw the Constitution and screw the laws. Which that's a bad place to be if you're a senator or in the House, Congress, period.
yeah,
Because you
yeah.
should be there to
Uphold
create
the law,
regulations to uphold our laws.
Yeah. So yeah, and Kamala Harris. Well, both of them were just absolutely terrible when you come to the Kavanaugh hearings and like, oh yeah, I think she's believable, and I'm like, well, if
She's
you,
worse. Booker comes across as a bad actor. You can just look
Yeah.
at him and tell him that maybe he wanted to be on a soap someday. Kamala Harris tries to
Oh,
play
dude.
serious and logical and to the point. She's vindictive and sneaky.
oh dude, that's what somebody needs. Somebody needs to do pictures of Booker with like the soap opera music playing in the background. Like when they do the zoom in on their faces when something dramatic happens, and they've got the Spanish soap opera music. Oh, dude, somebody needs to make a compilation of Booker with that because he's got he's got the facial reactions.
Yesterday on Telemundo.
That's what Cory Booker belongs. That's where he belongs, is on one of those Spanish soap operas. Yeah. Well, and both of them were just terrible when it comes to Kavanaugh, because both of them said, "Well, I think she's believable." Well, if you think she's believable, then you think Kavanaugh is a rapist, and yet they're like, "Oh yeah," and I don't want to be. Like, but they didn't. When they were talking to Kavanaugh, they weren't saying anything like that. It's like, "Oh yeah, but I don't want. This is just to keep you out of the Supreme Court. I don't want any legal proceedings or whatever. Like, we just don't want you to be in the Supreme Court." And like, if you think she's credible, if you think she's believable, you should be pursuing legal action against them. That's
well, she didn't actually accuse him of rape. She accused him of sexual assault. There is a difference.
Yeah. Well, he would have raped her if he hadn't passed out. That's part of the claim.
I'm sorry.
Well, right?
Or,
She accused him of actually doing sexual assault, but then he passed out, so he couldn't actually finish and do anything else. Which is kind of weird
Everyone
because
does when they're committing a crime. Everyone after committing a crime immediately like, man, I'm tired from committing this horrible crime. I'm going to sleep.
yeah. I broke into the bank and now I'm tired. I'm just gonna pass out here before I actually rob and take all the money.
Well, there was actually this one dude who broke into a guy's house and fell asleep on the couch.
Okay.
It's funny. He was like, I got a camera filming this guy's burglar on his fucking couch. Yeah, because breaking and entering is hard work. You gotta take a few hours of rest before you do any actual dealing.
Yeah, and another thing, like I know I've talked about this. I think it was previously on the stream when we were talking about this. Okay, so her story is that he held her down and pinned her down, was laughing at her, and was starting to remove her clothes, and then passed out and fell asleep. And then she ran out of the room and locked herself in the bathroom. And then they both come down the stair, like both of the men in the story come down the stairs laughing, and then that's when she leaves the house. And I'm like,
That makes no sense.
I don't know how it goes for most people. When you pass out from drinking, you don't wake up 5 minutes later. Usually
You wake up 5 hours later.
You're out for the night. Like if you're blackout drunk, passed out, you pass out and you don't wake up like until the next day or the next morning or hour. So unless she had locked herself in the bathroom for 5 hours, the rest of that doesn't make any sense. And it's possible that his friend woke him up, but I don't know if you've ever tried to wake somebody up when they're passed out drunk. Doesn't work. Like it is very, and if they wake up, they're not going to be laughing and bouncing off the walls, going down the steps. They're in a state of they are zombie mode. You have to because if you ever moved somebody at a party where they've been out drinking and they're passed out on a table or whatever, and you're trying to get them to bed, it's like dealing with a toddler. You wake them up, you nudge them, like, dude, you can't, like, I don't care if you sleep, you just can't sleep here. You know, and then you put them on your shoulder and drag them to their room, and then they
Or just pick 'em
they
up by their feet
stumble
and
to the
drag 'em.
bed, and may end up landing in the bed or just falling on their floor and sleeping there. I've had that happen several times at my house. Yeah. Not to condemn
Usually
these
when they
guys.
pass the fuck out.
Yeah, if you've been to a party like that, that's what happens when you pass out drunk. That you don't wake
Yeah.
up and then immediately start laughing and act as if nothing's going on, and then have a conversation with somebody. This might be anecdotal. I've never seen this happen ever, and I've been to multiples of these parties. I've never seen one person pass out drunk and then wake up and then start act like, no, they are dead to the world if that happens, if they get to that point. Anyway,
Yep.
so the fact that these people who are holding to their political party over the facts and like, oh, this is very credible, very believable, let's condemn this guy, and at least to the point where he doesn't get to be SCOTUS. Yeah, that's putting an ideology over the laws of the land, putting party politics ahead of what is good for the country, and also, yeah, so those are the type of people should not be here. All right, and S-Man, you had that. Maybe I should just pull up your chat so I can see what other names Red Feather decided to put. Or you can actually invite Red Feather in.
Country who shouldn't be here. If I could deport any person, let me think. I'd probably Russell Brand.
Wait, is he in this country?
I'll post a link to the
I think
stream.
so, and he needs to go because I can't stand that motherfucker.
Yeah, I know Jim Jeffries got citizenship. Go back to Australia. We don't want you here.
We don't want him here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if Russell Brand if he has his citizenship. That
I'm saying if he's anywhere in this country, get him the fuck out.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah. But overall, it's just like I think one of the few people I definitely say should be out of this country would be Dianne Feinstein.
Oh yeah, Dianne Feinstein and her security guards and her armed personnel, but she wants to disarm the population of the U.S. Yeah, except for the people that protect her. No,
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can go through the list. It's almost every Democratic politician. Schumer is terrible.
Schumer is a walking bowling ball.
I don't know what
Not
it is.
Amy
though.
Schumer, Chuck Schumer.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, Amy Schumer as well. Yeah, kick them both out.
Yes,
They're both...
Yeah, kick them both out.
Last name is Schumer.
Yeah, that's that. Her Chuck Schumer is her cousin, and she.
Okay, yeah, kick them both out. Kick them both out.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about-
and he was using her movie projects to promote his anti-gun stuff, and yeah.
So he's partially responsible for Ghostbusters Answer the Call, is what you're saying.
Wait,
So in other words, he needs to leave the country permanently.
Oh Lord.
I mean, I guess. I'm not sure. Was she in that? Was that Schumer? Anyway,
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
Yes, she was.
Oh, I never watched it because it.
Neither did I. I just saw the
I
commercials.
like the original Ghostbusters. I don't like Ghostbusters 2. But
you guys already bring up the
I
Clintons?
also want to deport Shane Black for his abominable Predator sequel that he just put out. Fuck him.
Yeah. Yes. Wait.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I guess you can have a petty reason to deport somebody.
He
but-
needs to be deported to the fucking moon for making
Was
that
it
fucking-
that bad? That bad?
It was that bad.
Uh,
It was so bad. It was one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. It was like more than any movie I've seen in a while. It really comes across like it was written by complete fucking morons.
Wait, which movie?
no, the new Predator.
The new Predator, the Predator.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like the last one, so I didn't bother with this one.
The one with Adrian Brody. The
nose
only
guy.
thing I didn't like about that was
like
Adrian
that one.
Brody. I was like, dude, he's not a believable mercenary. I'm sorry, you
Nope.
gotta get somebody else in there. I don't.
Not the main guy. They should have had an Arnold Schwarzenegger look-alike, or at least somebody that looks like an action hero.
Yeah, if they had
I thought
gotten
he was all right, but,
Yeah.
but I actually
The
kind of
Rock
like
would have been better.
even if they had gotten John Cena, as terrible as an actor as he is, that would have been a more tolerable movie.
Or The Rock.
But this new one, holy mother of fuckballs, was it stupid? Like, really, really, really stupid.
Really?
There's like this kid with autism, okay, Asperger's syndrome, and the Predators. He's able to figure out all the Predators' technology because having autism apparently is a superpower in this movie. It gives him the ability to immediately figure out the Predators' equipment. And then the Predators want to kidnap him because autism is the next phase of human evolution, and they want to make themselves
Okay. Wait, seriously?
I am not fucking kidding! That is the actual plot of this stupid fucking movie!
What the fuck?
They don't take
Shane
prisoners.
Black is
No.
a
That's not
fucking
what
moron!
predators do.
Yeah, they don't take prisoners. They kill.
They're not even looking for the next stage of evolution. They're
No.
looking for the next big fight.
No,
No,
apparently,
if they're
this
looking
is
for the
another
next
thing that
stage of
really pissed me
evolution,
off
it's
about
so
this
that they
movie.
can challenge themselves by fighting it. So
No,
they would be
no.
killing the autistic kid. Like, oh, this is your advancement in evolution? What kind of challenge are you bringing to it?
Yeah.
No, it retcons the entire Predator series that the Predators weren't hunters as we thought they were. They were collecting human DNA to like make Predator-human hybrid. This whole fucking
Oh
time.
my
Oh, that's why they would
gosh.
rip out the spines and the skulls because
Yeah,
collecting
that's
DNA
why they were
requires
doing it.
that. Yeah.
Fuck this movie with
That
a
is
10-foot
so
pole.
retarded.
It would have
Okay.
been better if they're just killers. That's it.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, what was wrong with that?
Yeah, and
Same
it's
with
plenty
Aliens
good enough.
versus Predators. Both
Yeah.
Aliens and Predators were
Well, because
murderers.
if they don't have a motive other than they're just killers, that makes them extremely dangerous and very unpredictable because they're just killers. There's
They
no
killed-
home base. There's
Well,
nowhere to
the hunt.
track them down. You just fight one-on-one and hope you survive with a predator, just like the very
Right.
original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
You didn't need
Yeah.
any other plot than that. He's just unpredictable and a killer, and that's it. That's his only motive is to kill. That makes for a very
yes,
scary
but,
villain. Why would they
Yeah,
change
but
that?
that's what's unique about the Predator. He wasn't trying to take over the world or anything like that.
Made him
This
awesome.
is an alien creature that killed people purely for the thrill of the hunt. That was
Yeah.
a new thing the Predator did, and that was a really cool idea that this stupid piece of shit movie that just came out totally ruined.
Yeah.
Sounds
Damn.
like they stole that from, what is it, Aliens 3?
Nah, it's a little different, but my God, that movie pissed me
Well, that
off.
was, I mean, that was humans doing it, but that was the plot, was aliens just go around killing as well, so they wanted to mix aliens and humans. Next weapon.
Yeah. But,
And that was
Yeah.
stupid.
yeah, as
That
bad as
whole
Aliens versus Predator
superpower
was, at least they understood, okay, the Predators go around killing, even to the point where they will create environments that breed something for them to hunt. Like that. Okay, that
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
fits
they're
in
like
line.
I mean,
the
sure, they-
universal big game hunters.
Yeah.
I
It-
think they did breed the xenomorphs, but they did it so that they had a better fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because they wanted a challenge. That's what they're constantly seeking is like, oh, something that can actually fight me back. All right, that's the ultimate
Thrill of
game.
the hunt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, you notice that throughout the series, they were always attracted to where there was conflict.
Yes.
And they always... And there was one plot point in the original movie. It says, it didn't kill you because you weren't armed. There was no sport in it.
Yeah.
Though there was How It Should Have Ended did a joke on that. They're like, hey, if it doesn't kill us if we're not armed, then why the hell are we carrying all these weapons? I'm like, that is an excellent question.
Yeah,
I'm
just
like, well, damn.
They all just drop all their guns and then just walk right out of the forest.
yeah.
Like, well, we're safe now.
Okay.
Or you would think after Arnold Schwarzenegger got rescued, he would have just told everyone, if they ever come back, roll in the mud and don't move. Problem solved.
What?
Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh my God! Oh, they bring back the Predator dogs, and what is it? They shoot the damn thing in the head, which lobotomizes it, and it starts acting like a real dog, and it follows around like a puppy. I'm
What
like,
the fuck?
was this made for adults? I feel like I'm watching a fucking children's movie. It's an R-rated
You're
children's
starting
movie.
to piss me off. I don't want to hear any more about that movie.
Okay. Yeah, let's
Oh!
okay. Let's move on to other people that piss us off. Okay. And
Did
so
you guys already cover the Clintons? I would think
no,
that'd be
we
more
did
of a-
not. We did not cover
No.
the Clintons.
It's like both
so-
of them
Yeah.
together. I don't know
Yeah,
about the
Hillary
guy.
and
Okay.
Bill need to be kicked out of this country
Well,
as well.
I think even the
this-
Democrats want them kicked out of the country now.
Well, this is talking about people who need to be kicked out of the country because, well, I mean, as far as what these people have been doing so far, none of it has been illegal or criminal in nature. It's just destructive to the U.S. When it comes to the Clintons, if we kick them out, there's no chance of them ever seeing justice. I think what they have done
any
is...
chance of him ever seeing justice now?
Oh yeah, true.
I mean, Trump would like to. I know he'd like to stick them with some sort of FBI or CIA investigation, but it's almost like beyond that now. They already have ties within the government. That's
Yeah,
why
because the FBI or the CIA is trying to get at Trump now, or has been for probably a couple years.
So odds are they're never actually going to see the inside of a jail cell, but both of them deserve to be behind there. Possibly even Chelsea, although she seems a little more.
I think she takes more leftist views, but probably wasn't involved.
I don't.
in any of that.
As to whether she was actively involved in what they were doing, that's a little harder to.
I doubt she was though.
From her public appearances, it doesn't seem she was necessarily pushing for
possibly
their specific agendas, more just overall democratic agendas.
Yeah. So it's possible that she was just a useful idiot that they were,
I think they probably didn't want to include her in all their garbage.
Yeah.
You find that a lot with like mob bosses, gangsters, criminals. They'll go do all the dirty work. They don't want their kids associated. So anything ever goes down, they want their kids separate. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's the same with her.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Chelsea's been, like their PR rep for their organizations and stuff like that. And
that's just because everyone's tired of listening. I mean, there's a lot of people who still kind of like Bill Clinton, but he's getting too old to do anything. And practically nobody likes Hillary. Even on the left, they're kind of like, you just retire and disappear now. Go away.
Okay. Yeah, so if justice is not possible, then yes, deportation. Maybe they will meet some kind of karmic justice.
Deport them to Haiti.
Yeah, deport them to Haiti. Yes, they will definitely see some justice for what they did. Oh,
there,
man.
problem solved. Wipe your hands of that.
Dude, yeah, it's like it'll be like a scene from that scene from Shaun of the Dead where the guy gets thrown out into the pack of the zombies and just gets ripped apart. That's what I. Okay, I could see that as a fitting in for. I mean, not saying that Haitians are zombies, but I'm saying that's.
You're right.
I'm pretty sure they have a beef.
They've got a huge beef of when billions were being donated to the cause of Haiti, Haiti got a couple million, and it wasn't the Haitian people; it was some company in Haiti that set up a new business. Oh, dude!
No, I think they got 2 hotels and a few empty warehouses.
Yeah, like a lot of good that foreign aid did, and it was. And if you look at how much money was coming into the Clinton Foundation versus how much was actually spent on those companies. Yeah, that's not what the people of Haiti needed. People of Haiti needed clean drinking water. People of Haiti needed medical services. They didn't need some warehouse or some hotel.
Yeah, actual living facilities.
And it was like less than 5% of the money invested for Haiti relief actually got to Haiti. It's almost as bad as Bono's one. But
that's why I was saying they're not going to find justice. Because if that was anybody else, you know damn well that our government would have looked into that and said something's screwy here when you're supposed to be a nonprofit organization and 5% or less of your income intake, your donations are actually going to what you said. They would investigate just to see if it's actually a nonprofit organization.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. The Clinton Foundation's not supposed to be doing that at all.
No.
Their legal paperwork with the United States that gives them a charity status is only for a Clinton museum. That's the only thing they're authorized to do. Is to curate a Bill Clinton museum. They are not authorized to do all of this, Haiti charity and all that sort of thing.
That's what the birthday money was for the museum, right?
Birthday money?
The birthday money? Yeah, wasn't that like Saudi Arabia or Iraq or something gave Hillary a couple million and
I call it birthday money?
contribution?
Here's your birthday money, little girl, even though you're almost like 75.
Yeah, here's a couple million. That's for your birthday. Enjoy. It's like, it's like a grandma writing a birthday check for Hillary Clinton and putting $1 million on the check. Don't spend it all in one place, Clinton.
Despite the fact that they're probably both the same age.
Okay. Oh, dude, that is ridiculous. And the whole organization should be audited. I mean, hasn't
Almost
been
definitely.
audited.
That's much closer related to that emoluments clause than anything Trump's done.
Oh yeah, and especially because
Specifically a gift to what was she, Secretary of State when she got that?
Secretary of State. Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you look at the amount of donations into the Clinton Foundation, they have dropped by over 80% since she left Secretary of State.
Because she has no actual power. Now her contributions are just from fangirls and soy boys.
Yeah, and it's like,
ones that still think they're worth anything.
Now, I wonder why all of these contributions were pouring in when she was Secretary of State, and then they stopped pouring in when she's not Secretary of State. No possible chance that she's receiving bribes from other countries. Nope. I don't know what you guys are talking about. That's crazy. You guys might as well be wearing tinfoil hats and talking about flat Earth right now. Dude, it's so painfully obvious, and the fact that other people aren't investigating it is sad. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like committing suicide by 2 bullets to the back of the head, so possibly we should move off of the Clinton Foundation and Clintons in general and start talking about other celebrities.
Before we do, I just want to make it abundantly clear. I don't know about the rest of these people, but I'm in a good state of mind. I have no desire to do any of those things. If I
you read my mind, I'm not suicidal and don't plan on killing myself ever.
The
Clintons are fantastic people.
Oh
yeah,
okay.
I have zero.
Less about the Clintons.
I will say that I have no criticisms of Bill or Hillary Clinton. I would have voted for Bill for a 3rd term in 2016, but I couldn't. So
I'm not scared of dying, so fuck Hillary and fuck Bill.
I'll say this: that if I die randomly, please inquire, please investigate, and
Yeah, I'm right on board with Gavin McInnes. He's a fan of the Clintons. I am too. Let's do this.
That's where we got the. That's hilarious.
All right. Okay, so I'm looking at the chat where Red Feather is talking about. So I'm not gonna bother mentioning all of these celebrities by name, but every single celebrity who has ever said that they are going to move to Canada after the election,
please leave.
Those people need to be deported. We need to force them to follow through on those promises. Every single one of them.
That. I think Kanye may have made that claim at some point. Is he included? Because I'm not sure what his standings are at the moment.
Wait, did he say he would leave to Canada if Trump was elected?
I thought he was one of those groups. I know Beyonce did, Jay-Z did, and I was fairly certain Kanye made a statement like that as well. But I don't know. He's pretty pro-American, so he may not have.
He may not have said that. I don't think that was Kanye.
I don't think conservatives should have been embracing Kanye West they did. Just because he's a famous black dude who's supporting Trump. I'm sorry, but the guy's kind of off his nutter. Okay, yeah. You really should.
Let's call ICE on everyone who said, "I'm going to leave America if Trump wins."
Well, it's been 2 years and they haven't left, so it was an empty threat.
The other thing is, if we do deport them, don't deport them to Canada. Canada doesn't need them. Canada doesn't deserve to have like that kind of, trash thrown on them. Deport them to some place like Zimbabwe where they're not going to make. Yeah, deport them to Zimbabwe.
With their vocabulary laws now in place, and Trudeau still kind of in power, at least for at the moment, they are having an influence on our election. Even though it's not direct, it's more of indirect. That's where democratic socialism is actually starting to mirror a lot of what is happening in Canada, and we're pointing at them saying, look how good Canada is. Look at their healthcare system. Look at their laws. Look at how they're very, LGBTQ plus blah, blah, blah.
Okay. All right.
They are having a negative influence on our culture and the way the U.S. mindset was.
Okay, so they're politicians, yes, but the people from Canada, not necessarily.
No, just the general people are the nicest people on the planet. Everybody knows that.
And that's what I'm saying is like, we don't want to throw, we don't want to make them have to suffer with Madonna. Can't she go to Zimbabwe? Like, I mean...
She can move to the UK. She's been working on her accent.
If we hella dropped her into Zimbabwe, it's not like she could possibly make the country worse. Like, if she goes to Canada, it's possible she could make Canada worse.
Sure.
Like, even just by spreading diseases, that's going to make them overall worse. I mean, granted, they've got the healthcare, but that's going to increase their healthcare costs.
I don't know. I think she would just kind of vanish to Canada because Celine Dion is a much better singer. She's already Trump there.
Just put her in South Africa because they hate.
As far as all these celebrities, I think we deportation to Zimbabwe would be good. As far as all of the politicians we talked about, moving them to Canada, well, they're already advocating for all of the policies that Canada has in place when it comes to healthcare and gun laws and things along those lines.
There is such an easy solution.
Yeah, they should just go there. They should just go live in Canada because Canada has what they want.
We annex California. That now becomes Calexico.
Calexico.
All the celebrities can stay right where they are, and we just build the wall on the east side of California, not the south side. And then we give about a 6-month notice and say anybody who wants to still be part of the U.S., you got to move out of California.
Yeah, see, I like the idea of that, but California is pretty freaking nice. I don't know if you've seen
and we
images.
Also need turrets on the wall and say, if you start shitting on the street east of this wall, you're dead.
Yeah.
We see one single needle on the streets.
Yeah, not talking about the cities and the people and the governments and stuff, but California as land is amazing, and I don't know if we could, like, oh man, do we have to give them?
No, man, don't even worry about it.
Can't we just give them like South Dakota and North Dakota, or like
you're missing the big picture?
Maybe Arizona, places people don't want.
To all of their own propaganda and their own governmental. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get the point that
it will crumble in a short while, and then we just claim the land back when they're all dead.
All right, then I'm on board with this plan.
It's kind of like cutting out a piece of cancer and letting your body heal up first.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and the other nice benefit of that is without California, Democrats don't have a stranglehold on politics, and it's very unlikely that they would, get into federal office without California. And when you're talking about like national elections, so for president and a lot of House of Representatives and stuff, a lot of that would start swinging red without California, because
the majority of it, because everybody who does the rest of the exodus and leaves California, will start to swing red, because that's the way the rest of the country operates east of California up until you get to the East Coast.
Yeah, up until you get to mainly New York, but I mean. The rest of the Democratic votership is kind of scattered throughout the country, but the huge center for it is New York and California.
Well, the whole state of California is practically blue. There are some rural areas, which are kind of few and far between, that are a little bit red. But when you look at the rest of the middle of the country, they're entirely red except for urban areas, major cities.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas California, practically the whole state is blue.
Okay. And that would get rid, so that would export all of these, or deport all of these actors and whatnot, get rid of them. All right, let's see. Okay, so Red Feather suggests Riley Dennis.
Deportation, just call it an annexation.
Okay.
They all have to move to California, and hey, this is not so bad. California, build a wall real quick and bye. Dump them a little funds just so we can be the nice guys. And hey, here's, $200 billion. Fix your debt problems. See how well you guys do by yourself. Goodbye. We'll give you a small loan of $200 billion. Let's see if you can pull off what Trump did.
S-Man, are you still there?
All right.
I think S-Man died.
Oh, maybe. Going through the chat, so trying to read off some of Red Feather's suggestions here. Avenatti. I don't know. I don't know if he's worthy of
mixed.
deportation because
I'm
he is
thinking
kind
he's
of
a
a big
sleeper.
lol cow.
I'm thinking he is a sleeper.
So
Everything he does just seems to benefit conservatism and Republicans. Every time he opens his mouth, Democrats sink just a little more. So he might be one of those secret agents. Who knows?
Yeah.
But at face value, yeah, he doesn't belong here.
Oh,
Guy's
well,
just
okay.
two-faced liar, and he almost tried to bring down our entire system of innocent till proven guilty.
Okay, so speaking of double agents, this is something that I've been I guess it has been a area of dispute when talking or when looking at other conservative speakers and stuff like that. So people like Cernovich and Stefan Monolu have come out in favor of Laura Loomer, but from everything I can see, everything she does only hurts conservatism. In the same way Avenatti, just everything he does seems to help Trump. Everything Laura Loomer does seems to, like, dude, this is the insanity we're speaking out against, and yet here you are handcuffing yourself to Twitter's front door because they banned your account. Oh, they banned my account. This is wrong. I'm going to wear a star because this is the start of the second Holocaust, being banned from Twitter. And I'm like, no.
Well, so here's the thing. I actually don't know who Laura Loomer is. Just had to do a quick Google. I don't listen to any of her stuff. But
okay.
At least according to Google, she is considered far right or alt-right activist, conspiracy theorist, and internet personality.
Okay. So you're not aware of the situation. So let me give you some backstory of Laura Loomer. This is the same person who went on Twitter claiming that her tire was slashed. This is the infamous tire gate, claiming her tire was slashed, and everybody was looking at the situation and claiming she was being hysterical, that this is not the case. Got to the point where the Michelin Man, the official Michelin Twitter account, analyzed the photos and reported back that she had dry rot on her tire and that no one was attacking her for her political position.
There's a big difference between dry rot and a slashed tire.
So, what was the other thing that Laura Loomer did that was absolutely stupid?
She doesn't know how to take care of a car.
Yeah, and she was trying to blame it on Antifa or somebody who was protesting her for her political stances. And backing it up even further. So, okay, the way she got her big claim to fame or whatever to be in a public spotlight, she did help James O'Keefe. She was part of his undercover reporter group or whatever back when she was no name. She was part of his investigation team, helped expose some stuff. But once she was kind of outed as being his reporter, her credentials are no good. She can't try to sneak into some other organization and pretend not to be Laura Loomer because her name kind of got out there. So she did, granted, good work with James O'Keefe. Glad for that. So he kind of promoted her and was trying to get her in her start. And then she started working for Rebel Media. She is one of the main reasons Lauren Southern and Faith Goldy left Rebel Media. Because Laura Loomer joined, and they both started talking about, it's like, okay, we didn't want to say anything bad about this, but then after the situation came out, there was apparently coworkers that were working with Laura Loomer that were accusing her of stalking them, where she would show up at their place of business and be like, oh, hey. So they worked at the Rebel, but apparently, or maybe they had associations with the Rebel, with Lauren or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the ties were, but she would go to these people's place of employment outside of Rebel and try to get lunch dates with them and that sort of thing. So
here's the thing with that. And now that I've got a better picture, I can draw a couple of, I would say, just simple or logical conclusions from that. One, when someone gets their claim to fame just really quickly like that, based off of one particular scenario, they have no continuity. They have no basis on which to say, yes, they've been saying the same thing for years. And so you have to be very careful. Exact same thing with Kanye being in the White House.
Oh, yeah.
Great, he decided he would be conservative for a minute, or pro.
But he doesn't have a consistency of it.
But yeah, there's zero consistency there, and he's just one of those guys that this is the next big thing. I'm going to jump 100% on it. I know people like that in real life. You just, okay, hey, that's nice. If you could continue with this for a couple of years and keep the same mindset, then I'll believe you. But till then, have at it and have fun. But I'm not supporting this till I know. So it was kind of a mistake for conservatives just to jump behind Kanye. I think to support him is a good thing. To encourage others to listen when he is saying something correct is a good thing. But all of a sudden to promote him as a black hero ready to meet the president, him and Kim, no, that shouldn't have happened. Maybe if Trump just wanted to sit down and have a luncheon somewhere just to, PR, be nice face to face, that I could have maybe seen that. But sitting in the Oval Office discussing anything, no, that should not have ever happened.
Well, there have been some good things coming out of that as far as prison reform and the pardons that Trump did as a result of.
I'm saying the same result could have happened just to sit down luncheon face to face. There's a certain etiquette and there's a certain persona regarding the White House and the Oval Office, and that is should be left to true and honest politics. That's supposed to be discussions, honest and open, between the president and somebody that has a valid say-so, not a pop star.
Yeah, so because it got way too much publicity, and now people are like, oh, Trump is just giving in to publicity as opposed to giving in legitimacy.
Especially in regards to like rebel media, conservatives are at a point where they're starting to understand they can build a voice, especially with the internet being as open as it is currently.
Yeah.
Even though we still have censorship from YouTube, we still got some censorship going on with Facebook. This has been a fantastic media and a fantastic presence to help boost kind of the underdog or the unheard voice. That's why Google and that's why YouTube are kind of freaking out and kind of over censoring and basically dealing their entire hand, showing what they've got, because they're afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what you also get is where Rebel Media is, for the most part, has had some pretty good constituents there. They've got, I do like Stefan Monalou, a little pretentious at times, but
he's not on Rebel Media. But
Lauren Chen, I like Gavin McInnes. He's pretty consistent for his last 2 decades.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro, even though he's not Rebel Media, he's
none of them you've said so far are actually Rebel Media. Rebel Media was Lauren Southern.
I'm pretty sure Gavin McInnes is tied in with Rebel Media.
Oh yeah, so Gavin McInnes was tied. Sorry, yeah. So yes. Gavin McInnes was.
But I'm saying Lauren
Southern,
Gavin McInnes, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, people like that have been consistent in their message and views.
Yes.
Their platform may have changed slightly. Crowder has gotten a bit more theatrical, and some of his skits are hella funny, but his overall message is the same. You see consistency, so you can't just hop behind somebody after one thing that they've done right.
Yes, that's kind of the problem with Tommy Lauren.
They're trying to grab everyone they can. Yeah, Tommy Lauren would be a good example. She started off. She reminds me of her and Candace Owens are very similar. Yeah. They have some great messages, and when they started out, you're like, here's a young, pretty woman who's actually saying logical stuff that makes sense. And then once they got into a position where they were kind of seated more in the mainstream media, they look a little bit too biased on one side of it, which is not what real conservatives want. They're not saying everyone be conservative just to be conservative. They're saying be conservative to open your brain and think for yourself.
Well, I would say of the two, Tommy Lauren is not consistent. She's very inconsistent. And Candace Owens does have a degree.
Kind of. I don't know what happened with Tommy Lauren, but basically what I'm saying is.
Yeah, because they're kind of like overnight. They
don't bet all your money just because this horse won the race once.
Yes,
you have to look for consistency, and conservatives and this kind of underground or new media that's coming out needs to be wary of that and approach it with caution. Yes, we need more people of conservative mindset, or at least centralist mindset. We need more people open to logic, facts, and thinking for themselves. That is a wonderful thing for this country. That's a wonderful thing for Western civilization, society at large. But just because somebody says something once, don't jump behind them immediately. Follow them and say, hey, good job. Keep that up. Let's see what you continue to do. And so when you get into somebody else like Laura, what's her name, Laura Loomer,
Yeah.
she does not have a track record of that, so they should not have jumped on the bandwagon right away and just because then you get stuff like Avenatti, which is exactly what the Democrats did.
Yeah.
He came out once, and they're like, "Oh, dude, this guy's totally on our side," endorsed him, and everything that comes out of his mouth, he sounds like an idiot and a liar.
Yeah, and then he keeps pushing more and more stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the Avenatti's a good guy." Yeah.
Everybody clearly saw, even with the Stormy Daniels whole entanglement, yeah, Trump cheated on his wife. Kind of a douchey thing to do. But weird to have a president who did that. I don't know how many times in the Oval Office.
Yeah, actually did that while in. Yeah.
Nobody really cares anymore. Is this either going to help our country or not? And so you either got the wife of the president who was just screwing around with everybody, or you got a guy who did it. She said an agreement. She signed a contract saying, okay, fine, I get it. I'll take some extra money, and I'll just be quiet about it. She lied. She broke the contract. And then we got this creepy porn lawyer who comes out behind her and says, well, it's her right to do. Dude, what kind of stupid lawyer is that? To say, look, you signed a contract. You broke this contract. This was a legitimate legal contract. It happens all the time. So what? I'm not sure what you're expecting. That's why they lost in Texas. So he is a crappy lawyer, just all out. And the Democrats just hopped right behind him. And then he brought crazy lady out who went to 10 rape parties. The instant she opened her mouth and even told that story, they should have said, get far away from this guy and anybody he represents. We don't want to be near him. And they didn't. Because both sides are hungrily grasping from all sides.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I'm tired of talking. People just need to be very peculiar and particular about who they'll say, yes, I agree with this person. It has to be based on a track record. It has to be based on a history showing that they are consistent. Yes, people can change their minds. They can grow. But you will see that pattern, not just one day they say this, next day it's 180 degrees. Those people you need to be wary of.
Okay, so I will say Laura Loomer has been pretty consistent from her entire track record. But she has this huge problem of over-exaggerating situations. Like when I talked about the tire episode where it was obvious signs of dry rot and she was trying to claim from some towing company said they were slash her tires, and when people contacted that towing company, the towing company said, no, this was obviously signs of dry rot. The other thing she did, and this is what, so there's this other guy, Jack Prosovic or something like that, I don't know how he pronounces his last name. They're the people who stormed up on the stage during the Shakespeare play, because there's a Shakespeare play of Caesar, where Caesar, they dress him up like the current president. And she got up on stage, and in the play, the Caesar gets stabbed multiple times. And so during the play, they interrupt it to say, oh, this play is promoting the assassination of Trump. That same play, if she had actually bothered to do any research whatsoever, when Obama was president, they ran the same play with Caesar looking like Obama. And they do that repeatedly. That's the appeal of this play is it's the story of Caesar, but they always put the current president as the portrayal of Caesar. And Laura Loomer, interrupts this play and is like, "Oh, this is terrible! How dare you depict the assassination of the president?" And it's like,
well, then
that's insanity.
She's narrow-minded. She can only look at the last short term of anything and doesn't bother to say, "Well, what happened before that?" Still. That may be consistent, but that still brings about inconsistencies simply because she's not showing an entire picture of what happened.
Yes.
Something we blame Democrats for. Hey, previous president did it.
Yeah.
Now Trump does the exact same thing. In fact, even less than previous president, and he's getting yelled for and crucified. And now all of a sudden it's a big deal. How does this? It makes a double standard. You cannot look at the whole picture. So, and
then when she chained herself to the Twitter headquarters in New York.
Oh no!
Yeah,
one of those people. So she's like a suffragette.
Yes. So she handcuffed herself.
Those ladies are crazy.
Yeah, this is what she did. I don't know if this was Saturday or Friday or something like that. It was recent.
Chain yourself.
She got kicked off of Twitter for saying something about she was talking about like that what's her name. The most recent, like one of the people who was elected recently, that is a Muslim who's possibly, I think she's legally married to her own brother, something like that. She was tweeting out statements about this person and their Muslim faith, meaning that they have to support Sharia law, which means she wants Sharia law in the United States, and yet she was elected as a public official. Now, I agree with Laura Loomer on that statement. That statement is factually correct because this woman who got elected is a Orthodox Muslim. She in order for her not to hold Sharia law higher than the United States law, she could not be a valid. She would have to be an apostate. That's it. If she thinks the laws of the United States supersede the laws of Islam, she would be an apostate. And yet she holds her... So her faith is more important than the laws of the land that she was elected to be a representative of.
You do have to be careful of that, because I read in at least one passage where Muslims are actually allowed to lie or deceive in order to kind of like infiltrate or persuade.
Yes.
But at their core beliefs, they are still Muslim. They still follow Muslim doctrine, and I will have to go look up where I read that.
Yes.
Because I don't know verse and scripture stuff in the Quran. Yeah. I don't read it. I think I've read some of it or a good chunk of it once. But there was a portion where they are actually excluded from being considered sinners or outcasts or
if they, so what is that called?
They're basically exonerated if it's for the purpose of infiltration and conversion and destruction of the enemy, the infidel.
Is it taqiyya? Is that the where they're allowed to lie as long as that lie is in the pursuit of forwarding Islam?
It's something like that. But I don't want to misstate or misquote anything. Yeah, it's in there, so I'm gonna. Have to go look it up.
I think the the phrase for that is taqiyya, like in Islam. But okay, so I do want to clarify here. There are plenty of politicians who are Christian and who are putting their Christian values as the reason behind what they believe in and what they support. Big difference is what they believe in and what they support still falls along the lines of American values. Independence, personal responsibility, those are kind of founding principles of the United States. It's freedom from having other people enforce their stuff on you. And so when a lot of these Christians get into political positions, even though they are against abortion for their religious reasons, or they're against certain policies, like they're anti-gay marriage because of their religious beliefs, that one in particular is probably a big overstep. It's like, well, I think you're misinterpreting the religion, and the issue, you're putting the politics. Yeah, so I guess that might be an exception. But if you're comparing Christian viewpoints to Sharia law is absolutely against Western values. At least Christian values that these politicians are espousing very much is at least along the lines of a lot of the values that founded America. And a lot of the founding fathers were at least deists or Christians, and that's, the principles of the country. Sharia law is diametrically opposed to that.
But that's the reason it even happens that way, is that American laws and the principles behind our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, this is based off of Christianity.
Yes.
So they obviously melt, because that was the foundation, that was the basis. And then when you look at extreme Islamic faith, which I would consider strict adherence to Sharia law kind of extreme, especially since Sharia law was kind of developed after the fact. It's not the original Quran. It's not founding doctrine. It's additional works of prophets and those around Muhammad. So it's kind of extraneous. It would be, in my opinion, the more extreme version of the foundation of the Islamic religion. But they are proponents of subjugating, which the U.S. is not. The U.S. is entirely about freedom. Everybody, always has been, including slaves, blacks, Hispanics, anybody else.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at all the wording, they never specifically named a race.
Nope. And
because they wanted to abolish slavery, which we
Yes.
did in less than 100 years of starting this country.
and you can
88
see,
years.
yeah, you can see
abolished.
when they're talking about the ratification of the Constitution, they were demanding that the abolishment of slavery be included in the Constitution. And George Mason, one of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence, walked out of the Continental Congress and would not sign the Constitution, would not ratify it, and would not support it because it did not include abolishment of slavery.
Yeah,
So,
well, I mean, that's why
yeah.
they came up with that three-fifths compromise.
Yeah,
It was
eventually.
to
Yeah.
eventually get the southern states to say, at least for now, come on, just sign, guys. And they said, okay. But it was meant to say, eventually, all these slaves will have a full vote because they will no longer be slaves.
Yes.
Which we did in less than 100 years. So,
Yeah.
based off of a Christian foundation, we are pro-individualism. Obviously, to an extent, there are still support from your family, support from Christian community. It's not you just go isolate yourself off in the woods. So it's not like 100% individualism. Yeah. It's that your actions are your own. Your thoughts and your productivity are your own, and also any repercussions to actions you've taken are your responsibility, not somebody else's. Don't blame your faults, your mistakes on other people. It's yours. That's kind of the foundation of the U.S. You've got the right to life, liberty. You pursue your happiness. Don't affect other people, in a negative way. And if you do affect other people in a negative way, you're going to have some sort of repercussions. You're going to have to deal with that. So that's very individualist, self-empowering type of thought process. So it melds very easily with Christianity, whereas when you look at the core of the Islamic religion, they are very group-oriented. Everyone has to think like this. You have to. Everything is very dogmatic, not necessarily scientific. It's just this is the way it is. And the only time the exceptions are allowed is it's because Allah willed it. So they anything that kind of jumps out of this little box, it's just simply because Allah willed it. It's not because of individual expression or individual freedom or you to be who you are. And it doesn't mesh with the general idea or society of the U.S. Now, there are some loose, some Muslims that just take the basic general concepts. And the beginning of it kind of does mesh because that is also based off of Judaism and Christianity. So the foundation, initial foundation, starts in the same place. It's just those extreme laws where women are treated as secondary.
Yeah.
That's not actually ever stated in the Bible. It's stated, women are supposed to obey and support their husband, but only in the fact of their husband has to bear the brunt of all of the defense, the decisions, any action taken on the family. It all comes back to the patriarch, the husband. So if the son goes out and does something bad, it comes back to the dad. So she's supposed to be there to support him, to add that extra defense and buffer, and so he's not standing alone. But it doesn't actually ever say that women are considered secondary to men. No. They are an extension. They are a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, whereas
in the Islamic religion, they're definitely second class.
Yeah. So one of the things that's often used when they're talking about the Bible says that women are subservient to men and subject to men. It's in the same passage, in the same chapter. This is in 2 Corinthians. I forget the exact chapter. But it starts off talking about the woman's wife's responsibility to her husband. Okay, be subservient, be submissive. When it comes to decisions, the man gets the final say. Immediately after that, it says, husbands, you are to treat your wife as your own flesh.
Correct. They are supposed to respect their wives, and they're supposed to listen.
Yeah. You love her the same way you would love your own body. Oh, does that mean that you're going to hate your wife? Oh, Christianity supports wife abuse. No, it specifically says the exact opposite of that. I
think men tend to love their wife's body more than their own, quite a bit more.
Oh yeah, so it's
actually, in Western society, hell yeah.
Yeah, and
man will protect a woman before himself majority of the time. That's the reason that most men do not like women in front line of combat.
Yeah. And
It's-
so
and
and
it-
they
it,
will
a
abandon
fun
their
part.
duties to go protect the woman rather than
Yeah.
do what their job is.
Well, it's why women have always lived much easier lives than men because biologically their lives are much more valuable.
Yeah.
yeah.
For the purposes
So-
of reproduction, they are much more valuable for propagating the species than men are.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not even just propagation. It's just love of your partner, love of your family.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
every
Men
aspect
have
of the
placed
way we
children in
behave,
their wives' life well above their own.
Yeah. And so
hold
the
on. Ultimately, every aspect of human behavior is explained by natural selection, selecting these behaviors because they aided our ancestors in reproducing.
I'll say
Okay.
this. It's possible. I don't know if I 100% agree, but it still does fit with everything that we're saying. So it's not
Yeah.
like you're counter a
Yeah.
counterpoint to
Pretty-
anything.
well,
Pretty much evolutionary psychology is a much better way of explaining human behavior. Certainly, it's one of the main reasons I
But
butt heads with
the
feminism.
overall topic is all of what you're saying and what we're
Yeah.
saying also, of course, correlates to the general idea of what the American dream is, what American society is like.
yeah.
Whereas in Islamic society, women are definitely second-class
Yes.
citizens, and that should not ever be
Yeah.
the case.
But
It-
You don't beat your
The-
wife because another dude looked at her.
Women
That's
live
screwed
much
up.
longer lives than men do on average in Islamic society. Why do you think Islam has the doctrine of martyrdom? Okay, it's basically a way of getting rid of reproductively unsuccessful men. Okay, a few men will hoard all the women in this life, but don't worry, buddy. Just go die for Allah, and you'll get 72
Yeah.
virgins in the
Oh,
next
that actually
life.
makes a lot of sense.
But still,
They're
religion
basically
is-
weaponizing. See, I don't like using this word.
It is abusing.
But I was gonna say
naive,
incels,
young-
but
It is. That is exactly what it fucking is. Okay?
Okay.
That's what the documentary
And the entire
doctrine
draw,
of martyrdom is
the
all
pull for
about.
them is sex. It is saying, you go blow yourself up and kill some others and
Yeah.
become a martyr. You're going to have, 70, whatever it is, virgins.
okay. So I guess
virgins.
You're
technically it
basically
is.
promising all these young men,
And-
all these horny
and
young
I
guys,
forgot-
go
and
kill
also-
yourself, and you're going to have all the sex you could ever want. That's
Right.
the stupidest crap.
And also a permanently erect penis, okay? In the Islamic heaven, men have permanently erect penises.
For real. What kind of God creates a planet and then says, I want my creation to kill themselves so they can come up here and just fuck around?
Okay. And here's a pretty big
But
difference
beside the
between
point,
yeah.
that's some of the main things why, a religion aside, why Christianity seems to mesh
Yeah.
with our foundation is because that's what it was built off of. Islamic religion, especially when you get to the more extreme beliefs in it, are actually exact opposite of Christian beliefs. Therefore, they have trouble incorporating into even our modern day society.
Yeah, but I'm saying even
Yeah.
in the Middle East where women are so-called second-class citizens, they on average live longer lives and they're on general far more reproductively successful
Well, yeah,
than the
because
men are. So
unfortunately,
even
there,
there,
you can survive
in
beating,
terms of
you
natural
can
selection,
survive-
they have the advantage.
You can survive genital mutilation, you
Okay.
can survive a beating, and you can survive rape, but you don't survive a bus bombing with a
Yeah,
jacket.
exactly. You can survive all that sick shit, and obviously it's wrong, but but you're far more likely to die being sent to be slain for a
The
lot.
punching bag will live longer than the boxer if he blows himself up.
Right. All right. So ultimately, even there, all right, it all favors women.
No, it
They
doesn't
all-
necessarily favor women because
No.
so it's just the young dupes that go in and become these martyrs. The elders are not actually asked to go do that. They
Nope,
never
they are
are. They
not.
become instructional teachers and
they're all-
imams and such. They are the ones that maintain the patriarchal power. So
Right.
it's
Exactly.
simply to eradicate the naive and gullible. So
Yep.
that way those who don't fall to or subscribe to that belief can take charge.
Yep.
Whereas you look at modern day Western society, it should be everyone for themselves, unless we're getting attacked by a foreign invasion. Then we all band together, fight them the hell off, and then we go back to doing our own thing. That's about it.
That pretty much is what it is, you know. I
Okay.
mean, ultimately, humans are selfish creatures. They're social creatures, but ultimately, social for their own benefit.
Yes, yes, I would say for the most part, yes.
Yes.
There are, that's kind of the altruistic nature of Christianity, is to get beyond self, similar to like Buddhism, is to look out for greater good, but greater good has to start with self. If you don't know how to control yourself, you don't know how to manage yourself, how are you going to do anything for anybody else?
What's good for the survival of your selfish genes? That's what it's all about.
But yeah, I would say it's the put on your own oxygen mask, and then you can help out your children. You can help out others put on their oxygen mask. That's you got to be selfish initially, and then once you've got yourself provided for, then you can start looking out for other people.
Well, I mean, that's a perspective. Yeah. Is it selfish to say, I need to build up enough of an empire or funds or money because my ultimate goal is to help everybody that I come in contact with? My ultimate goal is to build a list of anyone that's ever been part of my family or anybody that I've ever considered a friend. And when I can make my fortune, they are all going to share in.
Yeah. So the
only way you can help them out is if you make your fortune to begin with. If you're a homeless beggar because you give every dime away and never built anything up, you're going to be giving away pennies while you're living on the street.
How much fucking do homeless dudes get? Probably not much. All right, exactly.
I don't know.
All
if
right,
there's a homeless prostitute, maybe they'll trade for like cheeseburgers or something.
And so that gets me. I think this is something we'll talk about.
Been part of that society, can't contribute. Sorry.
So I think that's the topic we'll go on next week. I don't know if we've done a stream on this or not, because I'm going to be talking about why businesses are more. What's the word I used in that Twitter? What?
Weren't you talking about on Twitter when I was arguing with someone about government and they were mentioning welfare, and I said something about charity and business that business is better than charity. Yeah,
so businesses are more benevolent than charities. That's the word I used. I was trying to remember, and so it's counterintuitive, but I'm gonna lay out a case for that next week. And you're talking about like, okay, yes, it does make sense to. Like, if you provide for yourself and then you give away all your excess, all it takes is one disaster, one thing, and then you can't provide for yourself and you can't provide for all the people who are depending on you, and the whole thing falls apart. And that's kind of mirrors charity, is like, okay, you're providing...
Short stream, Bill Gates, bam, argument's done.
Yeah. So, but if you have a business that is sustainable, it can not only sustain itself and grow itself, but it can also help more people. Yeah, so it's more... But I'm not going to go into the full argument here. But that's what we'll talk about next week. But it's like, oh, that's along the same lines. But the reason we started talking about Muslims to begin with is because of this particular politician who is a Muslim. So Laura Loomer was talking about facts, and I was reading in the chat, and apparently this Muslim isn't married to her own brother. That's supposedly just a rumor, but you don't know. I don't know, because I've seen reports that say in her home country or whatever where she was married that it's on the legal paperwork there that the spouse is the brother. I don't know if, and then in the United States it's not recognized. I'll have to look into that, investigate whether that's legitimate or not. Anyway, Laura Loomer.
That's kind of beside the point. That's an isolated incident.
So Laura Loomer was talking about this person.
Acts of herself on the internet, right?
Yeah. So Laura Loomer was talking about this person, and then Twitter banned her because of that. And so then her reaction was, well, I got banned for saying something that is factually true, and yet Louis Farrakhan has a Twitter account that hasn't been suspended, hasn't even been kicked out for a week, or hasn't even had a temporary ban.
That makes no sense. How the hell has that guy not been banned from anything?
That is a damn good point, actually. But
so
I don't know. Was Laura Loomer's stunt, or is it really helpful?
No.
There are racists, and there are people where like, was that a racist statement or not? That dude's just flat out fucking racist.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so she posted her tweet
like, just
next to
proud of it.
Yeah, she posted her tweet next to his, and that she held it up as a banner and on the Twitter door. And I'm like, the message, she's on point with the message. The way she went about bringing publicity to it and all that, it's all of that stage theatricals and all of it. She claims that it's to bring attention to the issue that social media sites are censoring people. And all I'm seeing is, no, you're drawing attention to you. Nobody sees that banner. Nobody sees the issue at hand. Everybody sees you being an idiot handcuffing yourself to a door.
Here's the question for you, and this will be for all you guys. When it comes to that, I'm not a big fan of theatrics. I'm a very down-to-earth, logical, facts are facts, everything else is just anecdotal, and I'm not really going to listen until you can prove it's a fact kind of guy. That's, I don't do drama ever, just period. You start with drama crap, my ears turn off, I'm done listening, I'm out. I just despise drama. However, when you look at our current political situation and climate, Trump is winning because of drama. So the people, yes.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Trump is getting the media to screw themselves over because he says some dumb thing on Twitter, and they go to prove him wrong and show how stupid they have been and their assumptions and all of their quote-unquote facts. So he is intentionally causing this minor micro drama, but in fact is revealing current mainstream media as just a bunch of liars, frauds, and obviously out to attack him simply because they want a Democrat president. This is what's been proven out there, right? So then when you come in with like hardcore, just intellectual, I just want to get to the facts, let's see what logically makes sense, a lot of those guys, they gather some traction, but they lose steam. So if you look at, say, like Jordan Peterson, very smart guy. I think he's got some stuff may have recently made him get a little too big for his britches. I don't know if his head's getting a little swollen and he can't see it.
I think he's a pretentious half.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look over the last 20 years, up until maybe 2 years ago, his message has been very congruent, consistent, and very intelligent. No one took notice of him until drama. And he didn't cause it. It just got presented to him, and so he stepped out and was like, I can't do that. My principles say I can't listen to this, and this is garbage. We shouldn't allow it. And then he's out in the spotlight. And he did pretty well for about a year or so, and I still think he's a good guy. I still think he's got, for the most part, a good message, but I think he is now very extremely defensive and kind of dodging any questions, and is just a guy he sounds very smart, but everyone is no longer listening to what he has to say because he can't stand on his own 2 feet and say, this is it. I'm going to be a fucking man. This is what I say. He needs to take a stand like that. But
because that's what he was doing.
He got cast into mainstream light because of drama.
Well, that's what... No, it wasn't just the drama. It was the fact that he was standing up against tyranny. And it wasn't something that he outright went out to seek. That's the big difference. Is because he came out, he had a firm position against Bill C-16.
Because of the drama of him standing out is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So what you are seeing on mainstream media and even on YouTube and all of Twitter and all the social media sites are the very dramatic people. That's why Kanye exploded for a couple of months there. Is because he's always an extremely dramatic dude.
Okay, but there's a difference because Jordan Peterson himself was not being dramatic and being over the top, look at me, look at what I'm... No, he said...
wasn't, the other side was.
Yeah, the other side was.
The other side has now started to subside and stop giving him the drama that was originally there. He is dying out.
Yes. So that is a position that I can stand by and be like, okay, that's fine. Because... If
we consider ourselves logical, and even I'm more on the conservative viewpoint, kind of centrist conservative viewpoint, would that be a tactical advantage to figure out how do we use drama to our advantage, and how do we actually manipulate that, not to where we're ever lying, not to where we're ever being deceitful, but how do we use that? Because the most intellectual don't do drama, and the ones who do drama end up breaking or falling or being contradictive at some point. Is there a way to bind those two, boost yourself in the spotlight, still be steadfast in your beliefs and your message, but you need to bring the drama, you need to be able to handle the drama, which I think is one reason Trump seems to be doing very well against the media, is because he can just take it. And he seems to have a thin ego, but when he dishes it back out, everyone's like, ooh, burn.
Well, that's the thing.
He does drama well.
he doesn't seem to be actively pursuing the drama. The drama is pursuing him, and that's what I saw with Jordan
depends.
Peterson. Is the drama seems to be pursuing him?
If you look at some of his tweets, he instigates it. Why else would he call her horse face right there on Twitter when it's obviously coming from the president?
Well, I mean, I would say he doesn't start a fight, but he finishes
with
it.
The maturity of a 12-year-old.
But what I'm saying is, it seems immature. It still caught headlines.
Yeah, it's still caught headlines, but
he still wasn't.
But you have to go like.
If some people don't think she's a horse face or not, but everything else is right.
Well, you have to understand is she attacked him first. Like that's what the whole release of the non-disclosure thing.
But it was still perceived as an immature response to just come out on Twitter and call her a horse face. Yeah. And yet, did any of that so far backfire on Trump?
No. Because everybody understands he is
and Stormy Daniels.
Yeah. Because I mean, not everybody, but
actually just call her horse face.
Yeah. But
even though that used to be reserved for Sarah Jessica Parker, now there's two of them.
Well, I don't know, Ocasio-Cortez, those teeth, like when she does her big toothy grin,
that's her nickname. Is
Crazy Eyes is better because those crazy eyes. But like I've seen pictures and I'm like, dude. So why is her grin so huge? It takes up like a quarter of her face.
I'm just throwing this out as
like a third of her face.
Is there a way for intellectuals to actually manipulate drama, even though we despise it, even though I don't necessarily like drama? Is there a way for me to use that to an advantage, yet still be consistent? Because if you can build drama, you get popular vote, you get exposure, you get mainstream media coverage. You get what Trump is getting, but a lot of other conservative voices are not. Gavin McInnes got most coverage when Proud Boys got in a fight.
Yep. So I agree.
So this is just something I'm tossing out.
Yeah. So if I could figure out how to catch that and how to jump on the bandwagon and use that to my benefit, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be asking people to donate for funfair. It would just already be out there. I wouldn't be in the situation I find myself in right now. So it's kind of like if I could figure that out, I could be rolling in Jordan Peterson money because supposedly he's making.
We're coming to the gray area where I don't like to be deceptive. What I believe and what I think, I'm just going to spit it out because that's what I believe and what I think. And I'm not going to hide something. I'm not going to cover it up. So it does make it hard to kind of lead towards a general direction or cause drama because people are not quite sure what's going on when you're just always honest Abe right out there, right? And that's what a lot of conservatives run into is they want to be that honest guy, and that's a good trait. That's a good thing to have. You want to be a deceptive snake, but you almost need that in order to compete nowadays, which is what Trump appears to be at times, is a deceptive snake. Until the smoke clears and you're like, dude, that was actually a good tactic.
Well, here's the thing. So Trump has been doing that for years. He's been doing that for years and only came under this particular type of fire because of his presidential campaign.
Oh, yeah, he's a businessman.
So I don't know.
He's been doing that for decades.
Yeah, so Stefan Monalou is one of those people that I think he's like one of the most intelligent people living today. The only person I would think would give him a run for his money is Thomas Sowell.
Well, see, I don't know. Thomas Sowell is easier to listen to. Stefan Monalou, really intelligent guy. And for the most part, I really like what he says. There's something about the way he talks to people that comes across as
condescending,
pretentious, and condescending. Yes. And I don't know if it's on purpose or just his personality, because you know him, but I used to work with a guy who was always condescending, even when he didn't mean it.
Yeah.
That's how he was, and would piss everybody off, even when he walked up and said, "Hey, how's it going? Good day, isn't it?" You just felt pissed off as soon as he said it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's probably, I would say.
Worked the job, and he's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And Homer's like, you need to get off my property.
Yeah, I'd say Stefan, I would say.
So I don't know if it's.
I would say it's kind of like 75-25, like 75% of the time it's intentional, and then 25% of the time he just comes off as pretentious without meaning it.
Yeah, but I mean, unfortunately.
But the reason I brought him up is. The reason I brought him up is he was doing what he's doing for 10 years. He has been doing that since YouTube was like cat videos and what. And he got in on the ground floor. he didn't start to build up traction until about 6 years into it. So
But
he was
has
already
a consistent base.
Yeah. But it wasn't until drama, like people started coming in and like, oh, this guy's a liar, this guy's a cult leader, this guy's... That's when his audience started to explode,
So
is when
what
people started
I'm
attacking
saying
him.
is, look,
So
okay,
it wasn't, he didn't
brought
go
up-
out seeking it, it found him, and once it
hear
found
me out
him,
for a second.
it brought the
You
attention.
just brought up my point. So, I just watched this like 2 weeks ago. It was a Republican, there was a Republican who went out to go speak on something, and the Democratic Party got the Ku Klux Klan together and said, let's not actually be against them. Let's go buy a bunch of sheets, dress up like the Ku Klux Klan, and come out in support of them. They built the drama.
Oh, wait,
It was staged. I just watched this because they were talking about that Charleston.
Was this recently?
Charlottesville.
Like, this
yes.
is recent?
This was like 2 weeks ago. They were talking about something in the past. Like, I think during the Civil Rights Movement. But it was to show the Ku Klux Klan. Dinesh D'Souza brought this up in one of his college speeches. But he was saying that it was during a Republican or conservative speech, the Democrats decided to go out and dress up like KKK and show up in support of the Republican person.
Yeah.
Just to start pinning the KKK as far right instead of far left. And it was a media tactic. And he said the same thing happened at the Charlottesville riot, or whatever you want to call it, because all of the organizers were actually Democrat, or a majority of them were Democrat.
Yeah,
they weren't
Spencer's
right-leaning, they
Democrat.
weren't far right. Spencer's far left.
Yep.
Regardless of what he wants to say or what anybody else in the mainstream media says, he's far left. If you look at all his viewpoints, they don't line up with the right at all.
No,
Not even close.
Yeah, he's for universal basic income and for universal health care.
What Dinesh was saying is this was mostly staged with a bunch of dupes. So he got these guys who said they were alt-right, far-right, got a bunch of people, mainly white guys, who were just frustrated at constantly being beat down, told that they're garbage, told that their opinion doesn't matter, and told that they're racist from the day they're born until the day they die. And no matter what they say, they're racist and nobody else is. They were fed up with it. So they showed up, ready to just, attend whatever. And then they also invited Antifa. They staged both sides.
Yeah.
The organizers and Antifa clash, and now we've got hundreds of guys who are getting fired from their jobs and all alt-right and not neo-Nazis, even though they weren't. And the only accident that happened was that car issue was because the guy was trying to escape the violence.
Well, the other thing is, so about that particular, like, if you look into it and you start looking at the cell phone footage that is available, she never got hit by the car.
Yeah, the whole situation was just messed up.
She died of a heart attack and was never hit by the actual car. She died trying to escape and had a heart attack. Yeah, so, I mean, granted, it's still his fault, but
when you look into that event, it starts to become more clear that it's very possible this was all staged. Not the people participating; they were duped into it.
Yes,
kind of like you say, hey, you want to appear on a video? Right. We're taking a survey on child's diapers, and then 2 weeks out on YouTube, and you look like a child rapist molesting babies because whatever.
Yeah,
it's just staged, and you don't see it when it's happening to you. So what I'm saying is there a way to do that from the conservative side? They are staging the drama. Unfortunately, their ideas are still so absurd and extreme that people are looking through it and saying something's not right here. I think the conservatives and the alt-right messed up here, but there's something very messed up on the left. What happens when they perfect their formula?
So, I don't think they ever will. And that's, I think, the only tool and tactic we have is to point out, is to be the voice saying, okay, this is what they did, and this is why it was wrong, and this is why it was manipulated.
Did we land on the moon? Mm-hmm. Did we land on the moon? There you go. They have perfected it at some point, because either one, we did, and they introduced a giant conspiracy theory to throw everyone into a ray, or we didn't, but they very successfully covered it up. I'm not going to say yay or nay, because I don't freaking know anymore.
I don't know, but I lean towards no.
So what I'm telling you is it's entirely possible, because even on that subject, after 6 decades, 5 decades, you're confused as hell on that.
Because it just doesn't, the science and technology just doesn't support
it. Is it possible to go and deceive a bunch of people to where they actually believe it?
I think he's falling asleep.
Right there.
Oh.
This man's there. I'm just.
Yeah, he's
trying
there.
To get some additional input.
Oh, he's asking
what
you
do
a question.
Think on that?
Oh, let's see.
Oh, let me put this down.
Oh,
what do I think?
So he was thinking, is it possible to deceive people successfully?
Yes, that, and if it is possible, which I do think it is, because I think we have been deceived on quite a few occasions. I mean, the whole JFK shooting went on for
Martin
decades
Luther King's assassination,
Martin MLK, the moon landing, that's now in controversy. I mean, we got freaking flat Earth. How does that even pop up? Unless who knows what?
Yeah, it popped up enough where the president or the president at the time had to comment on it.
So it does seem possible that you can lie to the population in general, and some of it will just sink in and never be detected, at least not for a long while. And is that a tactic that conservatives or anybody on the right should try to use, seeing as that's what the left is using in order to combat it? Would that be considered underhand or devious and not something we can stoop ourselves to? Or is there a way to do that without actually lying or being underhanded? So that it's a very complex question. Sorry.
No worries. I think, yeah, you can definitely deceive, like, a lot of people. I mean, a good example of when you can really deceive a lot of people is, I mean, there's funny examples, like, a couple years ago, that chick was twerking on the door, and then the guy opens the door, and she hits the table, and she looked like she's on fire. A lot of people thought that was real. That was just an SNL skit. When on the news a couple years ago, when
Chernobyl, we don't even know what happened there.
Yeah.
Chernobyl, yeah. That Russian nuclear plant.
Yeah, that
we don't know what happened there, but plant life is already coming back, which means nuclear fallout not likely.
It's either not as bad or didn't happen.
Yeah, because plant and animal life is going back into that area, and you're like, well, if there's supposed to be radiation and you can't inhabit that area.
30 Mile Island falls along the exact same lines as Chernobyl.
Really? Plant life is coming back there?
There's very little radiation. There's nothing going on there as to what they expected.
Yeah, I would like to know about Hiroshima and Nagasaki as far as what's going on with flora and fauna there.
Dude, are you kidding? They pop back up in like less than 20 years.
Yeah.
They're plenty fine. The only relics of us ever dropping an A-bomb is there are a couple of walls with the shadow burst, where people just...
Yeah.
Those were left up as memorials. Dude, there's plenty of life there. All the plants grew back.
So nuclear...
That's not even under controversy anymore.
Yeah.
It all grew back. And there's no weird deformities. There's no like three-eyed fish. No, six-legged deer and stuff like that.
So the half-life of all that, of the nuclear radiation and all that, it seems to be exaggerated.
Vastly exaggerated.
Huh.
I was talking with Nate about that, and he brought up some science professor, and I remember looking up some of his stuff online. He would eat uranium in class. He lived to be like 90-something.
Jesus.
He was saying it doesn't actually affect people like what we're told.
Okay, wait. You're telling me it doesn't give people superpowers.
It doesn't do that, but it also doesn't. It doesn't cause. Maybe on certain people, it might cause random cancer, but just like anything else.
Yeah, well, I mean,
cancer could be triggered by whatever, but for the vast majority of the population, it doesn't do anything. X-ray is mostly a lie. The whole lead vest thing.
Yeah.
That's why they give you that tiny napkin at the dentist. Even though, 30 years beforehand, you had to wear an entire vest. It's the same thing because they realized, this actually isn't that bad. Standing within 5 feet of your microwave is just as bad. And it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why they even bother with the vest, because they're actively putting X-rays into your face. Oh, we can't. Don't get the X-rays into my chest and my stomach. Just inject it straight into my face. That's where.
That's because most stuff on Earth is already radioactive. It comes from the sun. You pick up a rock outside, it is distributing radioactive properties. We have been living in it for millennia.
Yeah.
So
The
now
X-ray thing is
purposely concealed because they want to limit who can actually build nuclear reactors, make them extremely expensive and profitable, which seems a very good case, seeing as that's what warmongering is. But I don't know.
Okay.
But that's my question is, on the right, the people who seem to boost into the spotlight, especially within the last, say, 3 years, right? The whole election period, 2016 to 2019. The ones who are boosted into the spotlight are the ones who are under constant drama.
Yeah.
They're pulled into the mass media by some whatever story, right?
Yeah.
But on the conservative side, so far, it's more been a defensive maneuver, except for I don't know about Trump because sometimes he seems like a complete ass and an idiot, and sometimes you're just like, really? That was smart. How did you do that? And I don't get it. So it's hard to tell if Trump's just...
Well,
Trump's like in between
in the words of Scott Adams,
and a genius.
In the words
somewhere
of,
in that realm.
In the words of Scott Adams, he is a master manipulator.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't tell if he is indeed an idiot savant and just gets lucky and is really good in certain areas, or if he's actually playing 4 or 5, 6D chess underwater. We don't know because sometimes it's one or the other.
Whether he has the actual foresight or not is not apparent. I think he's doing it all based on instinct. Like he has a natural ability to. He does it without
40 years of honed ability in sales and marketing.
Yeah, or it's he's been doing it so long and has had so much training in this that it's become habit. It's where he does it without even thinking about it.
I mean, it's
same thing with like somebody who's like a master musician. Yeah. So someone who's a master musician, they've been playing it so long, they do things that are technically, and you're like, how did you come up with that? And they're like, I don't know, I just did it.
It just
happened. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So that's my question, and I'll pose that again to S-Man is, do you think the right or conservative side should start investing more into, can we use that to our advantage? And if we do, is that worthwhile, or do you think that would be a detriment? Is that something we should look into? Is how do we manipulate the drama just like the Democrats have been doing?
I think it's worthwhile exploring and seeing, like, find ways to test the waters. You can think of a notable example of where someone can test the waters and see for themselves. If they try something and there's a huge reaction, whether it be expected or not, if you don't like the reaction, then you could debate amongst yourselves if you would go down that path or not.
And I've almost wondered that, like, does the left have a somewhat of a think tank group that says we need to start attacking these issues? Except for the think tank is not that bright.
There's got to be
some of the stuff they just decide to back up or cover. You're like, are you serious? Are you really? There are infinite genders, and you guys want to make this some kind of law? Shut the hell up. This is not ever going to pass in real life, you idiots.
Yeah, so they don't have so much a think tank as a feel tank.
A feel tank, right? But conservatives tending to be more logically based, do you think if there was some sort of think tank that said, we need to pretend we are Democrats? Why do they think this way? Why do they feel this way? And in my opinion, there's 2 reasons, and these are probably very accurate. One is the higher echelon or the elite want power. That seems to be pretty dang obvious.
Yeah.
They want to control the masses, so they will keep everyone as simple sheep because they want to be in control. And 2 is that everyone who is not in that upper echelon base everything off of feelings because they don't know how to interpret an intelligent thought. I mean, not saying all the time. I'm not saying they're all retarded or, stupid. They just have learned to translate more of their feelings into action versus let me use my brain and sit and think about it for a moment. They have been taught to quickly respond based off of emotion, and so emotion has become predominant in their life decisions. That's how you control the sheep.
Yeah.
Tell them there's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they'll all be scared instead of looking for the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
So that's the two types of people I see on the emotional spectrum of things. Whereas if we're supposed to be conservative, supposed to be more logical and based on reality and what makes sense for everybody in the country as a whole, can we still use that tactic, but in something that would still be considered a just way, not really unethical, but using what is here?
Well,
Yeah.
The only example I could think of that has done this successfully and repeatedly has been Trump. Because
King David, when he acted like a drunkard in front of the Philistines' gates. It's in the Bible. Was he lying? And was that against God because he was lying? Or was that actually a brilliant move and saved his life? There's biblical precedence for that, my bro.
Oh, that's a good one. Dang it. All right. Well, I will have to ponder this and come back with something because right now, from what I can
don't know. I don't know either. That's why I asked you guys.
Yeah, from what I can tell, as far as
essentially, we're trying to contemplate what 6D chess is and figure out how to play.
Yeah. But from everything that I can see, Laura Loomer is doing something to detriment any positive view of conservatives with people from the left.
Because he's getting too fanatical.
Instead of seeing the real issue that conservatives are being banned, and at the same time there are crazy Louis Farrakhan and there are actually ISIS recruiters on Twitter with active accounts that have been reported multiple times that are still up and running, and yet you have people who are getting kicked off for inconsequential, relatively tame tweets.
See, that's
pointing out that dichotomy is important, but
let's say come out with a story that says Louis Farrakhan is a lizard man, right? One of those draconian lizard men that controls the country. And then he comes out and he's like, no, I'm not a lizard man, I'm just human. And then you come out with a story like, Louis Farrakhan admits he is only human. That's what Trump keeps doing to the media. Is acceptable, and should that be a tactic that the right starts using more, because it's very seldom used, actually.
Okay, something like that I would be okay with. But what Laura Loomer did was handcuffing herself to Twitter and then video
she's a very emotional person that lets that get the best of her rather than... I mean...
Well, the issue I have with it...
It's a woman who did not know about basic car maintenance.
Yeah.
But decided to blame it on something else.
Yes.
Blame
it on hostile attackers trying to silence her speech. But the problem I have with it is everybody's talking about...
slash is a giant slit in your tire. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. But everybody at the time was talking about Laura Loomer. No, very few people, aside from conservatives who actually understood, were talking about the reason why she was there. Most of them were talking about that she was there. And people on the left were not getting the message. People on the left were saying, "Oh, this is somebody going crazy and being overly whiny." And they didn't get the So not an effective tactic.
I'd like to propose to you two, and we'll see if we can attract anybody else. Can we develop a conservative, or what we would consider just generally logical and moral middle ground think tank? We establish a basis saying these are our views, right? We generally ascribe to the United States viewpoint, the dream that everybody is an individual, everybody deserves equal rights, man, woman, black, white, Hispanic, whatever color your skin, doesn't matter. Everybody deserves equal rights. We start off with the basis based off of U.S. principles. And then we develop our think tank based off of that. And the think tank's primary purpose is, how do we think like the other side and yet not be the other side? And in so, we not only infiltrate, but we expose the other side. That's exactly what a think tank does. And so far, the only thing that I see even close to that type of think tank is some of the stuff Trump does, and yet 2 weeks after he'll put just stupidest tweet, and you're like, no, that was just, he's an idiot. So I can't tell what's going on there. And since that's not a reliable pointer to a think tank, and we got that, what's that, QAnon running around saying this is all definitely intentional and planned, and some of it matches up, and then others just, you're like, no, none of that happened. So I think QAnon is attributing 5D chess to Trump, but it may actually just be Trump is a good salesman.
Yeah.
And so we need an actual think tank. And what I'd like to do is start a think tank. How can we train ourselves to think like the other side without being the other side?
Well, whenever you got financial resources and all this sort of thing, where you can set aside time and energy to do that instead of thinking about how
it's just a think tank. It's free. There's no financial resources.
Well,
on your next conversation, instead of discussing current politics.
I understand that it's free, but what I'm saying is when you have to devote all your time and energy, how you're going to pay bills and how you're going to get your business going, then you don't have time to think about how you're going to save the country.
Possible future streams on where we just contemplate. So if we take it,
I would say that's kind of the purpose of these streams.
Current actions from the left and from the right. Can we start to accurately interpret things that could happen? And if we get to the point where we're starting to interpret things that could happen, it's because we are now finally understanding things that are in existence and did happen. Right? We are starting to understand the cause that has built out the effect or the consequence.
Yeah, well, once we have if we can create a model where we can actually predict what is going to happen.
However, all of the streams so far have been disproved left.
Yeah.
I would like to see if you and I, S-Man, Ham, anybody. I mean, Ham's already on the left.
Yeah,
but
Ham's not really going to help us in this regard.
Yes, he can. Ham thinks on the left.
Yeah, he thinks on the left. Saying that he thinks on the left is giving him too much credit. He feels on the left.
How can we think we feel on the left? In essence, there is natural empathy. Is there such a thing as intellectual empathy? And if that's achievable, that's devastating. You know what I mean right there?
Yeah.
When you can put yourself in your enemy's shoes and fully understand them and yet not be the enemy, you have crushed them. And I'm not saying Democrats or left are the enemy. The vast majority of them are just a little clueless and misled. And I would like them to just use their own brains and think for themselves.
So maybe enemy is a too harsh of a term, but the opposition would be.
The enemy was used in order to emphasize what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying, but opponent or opposition would be.
Because when you think of military tactics, that's exactly what they attempt to do, and the successful military operations are when they can successfully think as their enemy would have.
Yeah.
So I don't mean enemy as far as we need to kill anybody or we need to despise anybody. There's plenty of people on the left that seem nutso, but they have good intent. They're just misled. They're misunderstood, and they don't understand how things actually work in the real world. They just need to start using their own brains. I mean, in that regard, this would almost be similar to a freedom of slavery. It's a mental slavery.
Yeah.
So that's how I would view it. Not trying to actually extinguish anybody, even Antifa guys. They're just misunderstood young, predominantly white people that have too much privilege and don't know what to do with it and think it's all somebody else's fault.
Well, having them spend 2 years in another country might that definitely give them perspective. So I'm going to wrap this up because we've been going on for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And I'm saying, as far as the deportation, I think that wouldn't necessarily need to be a permanent thing for the people we mentioned and the groups that we mentioned. Yeah. Provided we deport them and they actually see how terrible it is in the countries that they're trying to turn America into. Like Zimbabwe I mentioned specifically because Zimbabwe was a very prosperous country in Africa. It was called the breadbasket of Africa because It's got a nice, somewhat tropical climate. You can grow pretty much any kind of crop there year round.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of
California,
abundant
Mexico.
natural resources, had a booming economy, and then they started implementing all of the things Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and all these Democrats they implemented full out socialism, and now they are the poorest country in the world. Not just in Africa, they were one of the dominant economies in Africa prior to socialism, and yet these people... So, you just send them down to Zimbabwe for a couple of years, they'll be begging to come back to the United States and be like, okay, how do you do it the right way? We don't want that. We don't want what they're doing. We don't want all the policies that got them to where they are. How do we get back to the American spirit?
That's why I would propose California, Mexico.
Yes.
Because if you've got cancer, you can't take those cancer cells and say, let's move those cancer cells outside of the body. They don't move. They're stuck.
Oh.
You have to cut that part of the cancer off and then see how the body recuperates.
But I'd say, that for cancer, that's a good analogy. But in reality, we could deport people from the U.S. We could go in more like a laser.
Actually prove anything to the U.S. other than we got rid of some virus for now. However, if we left them in a U.S. state that was kind of annexed, and they still had the U.S. quote-unquote dream or the U.S. perspective, and then we see them crumble, then we could say, look, you used to be United States state. You had all the same policies, the same laws, and you did things your way, and we see it crumbling right before our eyes. It has to be an example.
Yes. So I like this idea, and that's something I would very much like to try. And I proposed this when I did a one-on-one interview with Matt Christensen. So he's the other half of Beauty and the Beta, and we talked about this. And I proposed so this is my idea if I ever become wealthy enough to actually implement this, and this is kind of along the same lines. Is what we need is to have a new country that is protected by the United States, so it doesn't have to worry about its own defenses, that is actively allowed to trade with the United States and all that sort of thing. So they can't blame trade sanctions and all this sort of nonsense.
They can't be protected.
But they have to be protected. No.
Why? Why?
The United States has to provide their military protection to make sure no one else comes in and takes over.
That's the point.
No. It's because we're taking out all of the excuses that communists have as to why their systems fails. They have to have protection and be able to trade freely.
Then you run into what everyone, like Bernie Sanders has been arguing with Denmark and Sweden and Switzerland, is how great their socialist economies are.
No,
and how
these
great
economies,
their socialistic governments are, even though they're not really socialist. Economic-wise, they're very capitalist, but we provide the defense.
But
why do you think you can claim
But those aren't socialist countries, even by socialist standards.
Correct. Why can he say that, though?
Because nobody looks into it.
Because they have massive socialist programs which only work because their economy is actually becoming...
Okay, if you're talking about Sweden particularly, I saw this documentary where it's talking about their particular... They have universal health care. That is it.
Correct.
As far as social programs, they don't have the massive amount that the United States has. They don't have a social security program.
No, they don't have social security.
They don't have an education. They don't have social education in Sweden. They have Medicare. But so the healthcare is their only major social expense in Sweden.
My overall point is they're capitalist based.
Yes.
They have a massive healthcare socialist program, but the reason that Bernie Sanders can even point at them and look at them is because we still protect them. They have survived because no one else will dare intervene because they'll meet our wrath.
So if we remove protection from them and somebody else invades and takes over, well, then that's what communists will use as an excuse as to why those countries fail. That's what I'm saying, is you give them everything they want, eliminate all of their excuses, and still have their country fail. But the difference is Sweden has not fully embraced the communists, and so they avoided failure because they embraced capitalistic economy and have a socialistic government.
I get it.
Or socialistic welfare programs.
I don't want to jump to one extreme or the other, and I get it. So you've kind of swayed my thought here. So let's think about this, and let's get kind of S-Man's opinion on this.
If I did want to wrap this up. Sorry, that's a whole separate.
Right, you're a parent.
Yeah.
You've got a kid A, who does awesome in school, listens to everything you say, took all your lessons, and they're succeeding in life. And then you've got kid B, and they're the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
They're rebellious. They've gone out, done a bunch of drugs, don't give a crap about what you have to say. They still live in your house. They take your money. You still give them allowance because you give kid A an allowance. How do you separate the two? Because you want to still contribute and reward kid A for having listened to your life lessons, but you still love kid B. You don't hate them. That's your kid. That's part of you. But how do you teach them the lesson to start succeeding? That's what we need to do. So whatever that entails should be our action. And I don't 100% know that.
I would say that I guess showing them tough love, as people I know have put it, where their kid was an ungrateful brat and they figured a way they could nip that in the bud is if they teach them a lesson by cutting off that allowance and showing some toughness to say that this type of thing cannot last forever. You're going to have to get a job. You're going to have to do something with your life. You cannot, the way you're living currently, you can't live that way forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that was I think that's the best I could put it in terms of how I would handle how I would put up with that if I had a kid like that. But
so this ties it all together. I'm going to bring this all full circle.
Okay.
This is why we need a think tank. Tough love depends on each situation.
Okay.
Right? So my extremist view of just cut them off, probably a bit too harsh. Whereas if we subsidize too much, tough love is not represented. They are still subsidized and never learn the lesson. Same thing if we deport all these people that we just want to deport. How do we make them an example? We just deport them out of the country and say, screw you guys, forget about you. Their example is lost. An example must be maintained, retained, and used to say, now you see why I told you what I did. Not because I hate you, but because I want you to be better and not like that.
Okay. And so that'll be kind of the closing thought of this, because we do need to wrap this up.
Yes.
Is there has to be a way for them to redeem themselves. If you punish them, and it is a permanent punishment for their actions, all it does is that is an argument for might makes right.
And it has to be observable.
A
retribution by them and you and others.
It has to be obvious why the punishment is occurring, and it has to be obvious that if the behavior changes, the punishment will no longer be in place because the lesson is learned.
On top of that, should actions repeat, punishment becomes multiplicative or exponentially worse. So almost like, let's say a guy is drunk driving, right?
Yes.
He hits somebody, causes a death. He goes to jail for 10 years. I don't know what the actual term is. I think that's somewhat equivalent. If he never gets caught with the DUI again and decides to swear off drinking, or at least he's only drinking when he's at home or in a safe place, never gets in an automobile after having drunk anything, you can see he's kind of learned his lesson. He gets even a DUI after. He's in jail for life.
Yeah, it's
because obviously he did not learn, and it was a farce.
Yeah.
So it has to become exponentially harsh and say you get one shot to prove yourself, one chance to redeem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that's where I'm going to be wrapping up on my end. Thanks for joining me, Humane and Sinister. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw us yawning for like that last hour, but it's like, oh, dude, I'm getting so sleepy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's I don't like to talk too much. My bad.
It's all right.
No, it's fine. And you did join the stream a little bit later, so... But thanks for everybody who joined us, JJ and S-Man and Sinister and Loudmouth and Red Feather for joining and watching on S-Man's end, and apparently Brandon, I forget his screen name. A couple other people joined on your side, and then nobody watches my stuff on my side. So as usual,
Rip.
I do sometimes.
Oh no, I actually got the angry Basil joined in. Well, I'm sorry, Basil. I did not even notice you were posting on my comments because I was looking at S-Man's comments. Okay.
Do that. Dude, he just admitted he doesn't read subscriber posts.
Oh no, yeah, that should be pretty obvious if you've seen any of my streams. I very rarely look at it. So Angry Basil did say, yeah, it's Takia. That is the where Muslims can lie about something in order to forward the Islam.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Brandon. He's in the chat. He plans to watch this stream later. All right. So thanks for joining me, everyone.
Okay. So I just want to read. Sorry. Go ahead and finish because you're closing up on your stream.
Yeah, I'll close up on my end. So thanks for everyone for watching. We'll see you next week with whatever topic HUMANE can think of. And
I was already going to talk about business being more benevolent.
Oh yeah, shit. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
That's the plan for next week. Okay, so Angry Basil says Stefan Molly meme doesn't hold a candle to Jordan Peterson. I would disagree.
It depends on your flavor of pretentious.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson still thinks that the Nazis were on the far right. And even after all of his research into that,
oh, really?
I can't understand how he could possibly think that the Nazis represent the far right as opposed to another branch of socialism.
I think perhaps he hasn't made the connection that far right is far left. Like, it's the same. It's not a horseshoe, it's a loop. They are the same.
But
it's a difference between extremism and centrism, or just
general.
Because
I think that's again missing the point. Is so socialism branched out into fascism and what ultimately became communism, and then so the Nazis and Mussolini were both brainchilds of Marx, who was on the left, and so the entire time socialism and Marxism has been pushing left, and it never went over to the right.
Then I would say that it depends on his definition of right and left.
Yeah.
Because in modern day society, that seems to be just down the tubes. I don't know what constitutes far right. I do know what constitutes far left, but far right has been muddled.
Yeah. So if Peterson was able to identify that the Nazis were on the left and never veered right, I might agree with you that but as far, and I know I'm probably maybe overly fanboying for Monoloo and all that sort of thing, but as far as all the people that I follow consistently on social media, he has been the one that has been the consistent longest for me. I hear a bunch of people making complaints about him, and so this is one of the things I recently saw. There's some, this is gonna be another tangent. Sorry. So I saw this was recommended to me in my YouTube channel, and I just let it play. It was these two nothing streamers that somehow have 14,000, and I can't even get over 200 subs. Anyway, they had 14,000 subs, and they're talking about Stefan Monoloo, and like in the first 5 minutes, there was already like numerous claims that were incorrect about his situation. But one of the things they did bring up that I thought was interesting is they made the claim that in 2017, Stefan Monoloo made over $1 million. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. I know he's been doing pretty well over the last few years, but over $1 million, I doubt it. But apparently, no, but he made over $1.2 million in 2017 just on Bitcoin alone. Just based on, because you can track his wallet, because he's got his Bitcoin wallet associated with his YouTube page. You just go to that YouTube wallet. You can actually monitor all the transactions that have occurred on that account. And over the course of a few months in 2017, at the time where he made a transaction, where he was making transactions of 200 and 300 Bitcoins at a time, Bitcoin was selling for over $3,000 in June and July when he was making those transactions. So whether he actually got that currency in his bank account or not, it seems likely that he was selling it off, but I didn't bother to follow where that money was going after it left his wallet. But yeah, so 1.5 million, or sorry, 1.25 million at least in 2017, and I'm like, great, because I do know for a while there his channel was making nothing for him, and he's been doing this for 10 years, and 1.2 million over the course of 10 years is not all that great considering what most programmers can make over the course of 10 million, or over the course of 10 years doing nothing but that. So, anyway, that's just, I was like, oh, so I guess maybe that's the fanboy in me that's like, oh, hey, that doesn't seem likely, but oh, good for him. And everybody else is like, oh, that's terrible. Stefan Monlu shouldn't be making any money. And I'm like, he's providing a service. I think he's providing a service that is at least worth $200,000 a year on average.
But why? Who came up with the concept that if you make money, you're a bad person?
Oh, I don't know.
That's not none of that is
I guess
true.
What after listening to their podcast for about 15 minutes, somebody else jumped in and they brought up the Jew question. I was like, oh, that explains everything. And they started talking about, yeah, Stefan Monlu talks about race realism, but he doesn't go the full, he doesn't take it to the full extent and go all to the Jew question. I'm like,
so is Stefan Monlu a Jew?
No.
They were insinuating.
No, they were.
He made his money?
No,
that's how he was successful.
No, the people running this podcast are apparently Stormfront users, and I was like, oh.
Oh. How did you get that video?
I don't know. I don't know how it got recommended to it, and as soon as this guy hopped on and started talking, I was like,
it should be.
Oh,
yeah,
their objection. Their objection to
him
and his channel is that he's not a Nazi. Okay.
But I would say anybody that is successful and can make money should be looked up to as a smart person. Regardless if they're left or right or whatever. They have learned how to either manipulate a system or use a system to its full advantage to make money. That's something to look up to. Isn't that what everybody else wants? Sounds like jealousy.
I guess. Yep. That's what it turns out. So it's jealousy, and they're also mad that Stefan is not a racist like they are. So, I'm not just saying that because they're on Stormfront, they're automatically racist. They started talking about the issues I'm like, oh, these guys want a white ethno-state. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, now I see your objections to Stefan. Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. There's nothing about being white that makes people any better than any other race.
No.
We just happen to be in a fortunate situation of being at the forefront of technology so far on the globe. But when you actually look at the black race and that they were introduced through slavery into current technology and stuff they've been able to accomplish, it should show everybody it doesn't matter your freaking race. It's just down to the individual and what they did with their life. And that's it. Period.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna read through these couple more messages here. So the Angry Basil says Chernobyl was a gross engineering error from one of the messengers that lifted about 4 safety redundancies in order to test one of the reactors. Yeah. And started a chain reaction, but he also says that the radiation is exaggerated and you can literally visit Chernobyl and stay there for hours without a radiation suit. Okay.
Yeah, see, that's the latest reports I've been hearing. Radiation is not anywhere close, and it's the same with 3 Mile Island. You can actually go visit without a radiation suit. I don't know how long, and again, who knows what's exaggerated, but it's not what the media has made it out to be.
Oh yeah. So here's the difference. So Angry Basil just pointed this out as his last comment was Jordan Peterson made much more. Yes. In 2017, Jordan Peterson made multiple millions. He made millions just on his book alone. But then he's also his tour. People were paying over $100 just to have a photo with Jordan Peterson. Like the VIP passes to his events were $100 each.
So the way I look at that is he's a college professor, right? He finally gets in a bit of a limelight. Is that bad if he decides that, hey, maybe I should start making some money off my book and off of my ideas and my presentation and what I've been saying for the last 20 years? No, not bad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what I do see is after he got into the media limelight, his message hasn't necessarily changed, but he's gotten extremely defensive and doesn't really answer questions anymore. He kind of diverts them to something abstract, whatever question, to where you're not sure if he's answering your question or not.
Yeah. And well, that was the main thing about him, because what catapulted him to the limelight was him having a firm stance that was immediately understandable concerning Bill C-16. And then as he got more and more famous and as he went, his answers to specific situations, they're not firm.
Well, I mean, you gotta
understand. They're not certain.
To him makes sense.
Yeah.
To him, C-16 means you're going to shove words in my mouth, and if I don't say them just like you said, I'm going to get fined or I'm going to get put in prison, and that's tyrannical, and I don't agree with it. But then after that got kind of dealt with, Canada already passed their laws. Now it's in there. Now he's dealing with other questions.
Yeah.
This all comes to more of a philosophical kind of debate, which is what he's been dealing with for 30 years, and it's philosophical. It's just logic games. It's just a thought process. There is no right or wrong necessarily to recently, so he gives his point of view, but it's not a firm stance on anything.
And people are looking for that definitive answer. And that like, if you listen to Scott Adams when he was he's got an interview with Tom Woods. I don't know if this was a week ago or something like that, where he was talking about all this sort of thing. He's talking about it's not persuasive to have the facts. It's persuasive to have a firm position and stick to it, even if that firm position is wrong. In which he's saying, like, even if Trump says something, Trump says it matter-of-factly and sticks by it and never changes, that's more persuasive than if he goes to the facts. And even if what his decision was actually ends up being incorrect, the fact that he was firm on it and stuck by it no matter what, that's more persuasive than being right, which that's pretty scary.
I have a concept on that, and that's because people don't like to be wrong. It doesn't matter if you are wrong, if you're not wrong, or what you're believing in, or what you take as fact. People don't like to be proven wrong. Therefore, you get the Holocaust, you get Nazis, you get Salem witch trials.
Yep.
They were all right in their mind.
Right.
At least the majority was. So that's just what human nature is. People don't like to be wrong. And they like to be right on their belief. And so the more firm you are, the more others will follow and say, this guy is so firm in his belief, I think he might be right on such and such subject.
That is extremely scary.
Yes.
That the confidence is more persuasive than being correct. That is the scariest thing I have heard all week, and I'm like, it's hard. It's sad, but it's true.
That's what charisma is. That is the essence of you being more confident in your beliefs than others. Therefore, they are attracted to that confidence and belief.
And maybe that's why I haven't been as successful in my other endeavors.
100 and something thousand die out of socialism, or no, not thousand, million. 100 something million die out of socialism because Stalin, because Hitler, they were confident in their beliefs.
Confident.
They were extremely charismatic, and they pulled others into their belief. That's how Christians back in the Dark Ages. It's called Dark Ages not because it was actually dark. It's because Christians went freaking dark. Like, they were just killing whoever did not believe whatever was touted or is studied, like the studied word?
I am not sure.
Basically, during the Inquisition and during the Dark Ages, Christianity hit a dark age because it became us against the witches and the supernatural, and none of that actually occurred. Or if it did, it was extremely minute, and it was more of just the elite taking control of the minority. And so even on Christianity, which has a history of tolerating people and understanding, love your neighbor as yourself, hit a horrible down point. Because somebody was charismatic about it and had a stern belief in this. That's kind of why my dissuasion with organized religion.
Yes.
I will take what I read from the Bible and what it means to me and what I gather from the picture as a whole. I'm not going to listen to what some other dude says, ever.
Okay. So
I'll
I
listen
think
to what
we
he
do
says,
need to.
and then I'll research it.
Okay, we do need to wrap this up because it's been
Yes,
going on
yes.
way too long. We're already almost getting close to the 4-hour mark. Oh wait, no, I started at 4:30. But anyway, we're still way overboard, way too long. Yeah, if I start at 4:30, so we're at the 3-hour and almost 10-minute mark. And thanks everybody for joining me. And sorry, Basil, I'm not reading the rest of your comments. I know you're posting on there, but I'm trying to wrap this up. So I think we resolved the issue, and I do like the idea of these people not being allowed to influence the United States, and the best way to do that is to kick them out of the United States. But I do think they should be allowed to come back once they clean up their act and once they realize how good they have it here and why they have it good here. It's not just because, oh, America is special or blessed. It's because of our values and the principles that founded it. And if you try to undermine those, or if you try to corrupt those, you're going to ruin this and turn this into any other country that isn't America. And on that, I'm going to close it out. And next week we will be talking about businesses being more benevolent than charities. And all right, where's let me find the button on the right tab. There we go.